Hello, welcome. It's Friday. It's not Fallout Friday. It's time for some eModels goodness. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's time to crack on and keep busy and get back to building the Canis Rex Imperial Knight from Games Workshop. Yes, for my very good friends, eModels.co.uk, your one-stop shop for all your model making needs. That's not the finger of shame. That's the finger of go and buy lots of things from the website, eModels.co.uk. Yes, so welcome. If you're watching this and wondering why it's not on my channel, it's because it's an eModel stream. Over the last few weeks, I've been building the Warhammer 40K Imperial Knight Preceptor CANIS Rex, a unique Imperial Knight in the Warhammer lore. And so far, I'll just move Guthorm. Yes, very good. He likes to take part, does Guthorm, but I've told you not to wear my lenses. It won't do your eyes any good. Stop wearing them. No, he never learns. It'll go blind. He'll do his eyesight no good, and I'll get the trouble for it, and I'll get told off. And I don't know. Anyway, yes, welcome. We've been working on the Imperial Knight, and if you remember so far, we built 10 legs, or a big chunk of the legs. We built a big chunk of the torso, and I have to report, remember last week when I was trying to get this bit to glue on the front here and make sure the head was still wiggly? Look. Oh, wiggly. Oh, it worked perfectly. We can do the rotational wiggliness. Yes, watch it fall off now in a minute. Probably. So we've done that. We've got lots of spare bits of armour that we haven't glued on yet. We've got some exhausts that we made last week that I need to clean up. So we're slowly making progress. Now, if you're wondering what we're doing with this, this will be my next video painting guide for eModels.co.uk, your one-stop shop for your model making needs. It's my next painting guide, but I am waiting on them getting a delivery of stuff from Games Workshop, which has been delayed because the entire world's on fire right now and, lockdown and everything else. So getting stock from suppliers for any retailer has been quite difficult lately. So we are waiting on a restock of some paints and bits and bobs and this kit. So in the meantime, just so we've got some content, I said I'd do these live streams and just show building it for the fun of it. So we've got some content coming up. So I don't know exactly when we'll get the painting tutorial done. It depends on Games Workshop getting stuff to the guys at eModels. So hopefully very soon, but we can get it built. Very quickly, as always, because it's an eModels show on the eModels channels, please keep the in chat family friendly. It's a family friendly channel where eModels are a proudly family friendly store. So please keep the chat family friendly, although discussion of scaly models parpage is allowed because that's just silly, not really rude. And please don't discuss other retailers in the chat. It's just kind of rude if you start talking about other retailers in an eModels chat. So please keep it clean and keep it on brand. But we'll have a quick look and go through who is in the chat. Don't forget, of course, if you're watching this, there's no live chat on the screen here because it tends to break and fall over all the time. There is no live chat on the screen for you to see if you're not watching this live, but I don't know why I said that, it's just nonsense. But there is live chat if you're watching on the YouTube. So if you're watching this embedded in the eModels website or Facebook or somewhere else, come and join the live chat. Hit the YouTube icon that's down here in the bottom right hand corner if you go where the play and pause buttons are. And that will take you to the YouTube page where you can actually join in watching and join in the live chat. And you should do, because you should, basically. It's an awesome place in chat. Anyway, let's have a quick look and see. Now, I don't expect to get a lot of people in chat and watching it live because, of course, it is a Friday afternoon and some people are back at work or working from home, so not everybody can watch on a Friday. But anyway, we have Mayhem Modelworks was the first person. This is more big buildy doggo time. Yes, welcome, Mayhem. David Sanderson is in. We have Wendy Hickson's in. Welcome to all three of you. No, I nearly said welcome to all three of you too, but that would have been dumb and also absolutely expected for me, basically. Of course, Dad over at Scaly Models is one of your moderators. He's in chat and keeping you all safe and sound. He's a lovely, lovely fella. He's a lovely little forest creature with lovely big eyes. And he's dead like little fluffy round thing, like a little, I don't know, tribble with big fluffy eyes. I don't know, but he's dead soft and sweet unless you cross him, in which case he'll compress you to the size of a sugar cube and launch you into a volcano. So don't cross the mods, is what I'm saying there. We have David Sanderson, Wendy Hickson, Dad is in. Anybody else come in? We have Mayhem Modelworks. Sarah Jane's in. Welcome, Sarah Jane. Hello, hello, hello. People talking about getting the jab and not having the jab yet, and so on. Panzer Koenig is in. Welcome, Panzer. Welcome to you, my friend. We have, and that's it so far. Like I said, I don't expect to get a lot of people in chat. Hello. What's that? I thought that was a spider. It's a little bit of fluff on me. A little bit of fluff on the end of my finger. It's like, I thought there was a spider hanging off my fingernail. It's going to be one of them days. Yes, I don't expect a lot of people in chat, so do hang out in chat. If you're watching and you can't, not in the chat, come and join the chat. Now, I'm going to get going in a moment. So, of course, I will be putting on the lenses of seeing. So, if you want to join in the chat, if you want to get my attention, please do, because we're here for 3 hours and I've got to have something to talk about. So you give me stuff to talk about, I can hang out with you lot. But I will have trouble seeing the chat once I've got my lenses on. It'll be a big blur that just moves. So if you want to catch my attention, of course, your options are to put your comment in big, fat capital letters, or bold, as Ted would say. So it at least stands out a little bit in the chat. If you want to, you can do a super chat by clicking the little dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat window. It puts your comment in a coloured box. Or if you want to, you can just put @ModelMakingGuru, because I'm signed into the chat as my channel, Model Making Guru. So you can do that instead, and that puts my name in an orange box, and I've got a chance to see it then. Max McGinn is in. Welcome, Max. Hello, my friend. Dad is very nice, just windy in the trouser department, says Panzer. Yes. If you know me and my friends and our channels, there may have been an incident the other day where our friend Colin from the Monday show, Colin Fester 67's workshop, was in, and his friend and Dave was in as well, and Dad was in the background moderating the chat, and there may have been some small trumpet noises. Let's just leave it at that. So yes. Right, so Max McGinn is in, and that's everybody so far. So let's crack on, shall we? So yeah, we got up to this point last week. Now what I need to do, the first thing I need to do is Mayhem Modelworks says for no reason just says Kshatriya. Kshatriya is the name of a mobile suit, a kit for a Bandai kit for a mobile suit. It's brilliant. I've got one to build. Massive thing it is. Kshatriya, but I don't know why he's put that. But I'll just say Kshatriya. I always like to mispronounce it. Reese at RJC Models Officials in. Hello, Reese. How you doing, my friend? I'm fine, thank you. Apart from because the lights and camera are on, I've obviously instantly developed the sniffles and the coffee throat. But never mind. Talking of coffee, enormous coffee of happiness. Let me just... Last week I had water because I wasn't feeling up to lots of coffee. This week, forget it. It's coffee times. So last week, built the torso, built the exhaust. I didn't stick the armour on over the head because I wasn't sure whether I was going to stick the head on. So what I'm going to do is, at the very least, get that piece of armour off and cleaned up ready. Now, if you remember... by the way, I hope the sound and video is okay. Do let me know if there's any issues with sound and video. I'm always fettling around with the colour balance and the exposure, and it usually ends up looking terrible regardless. So I'm always quite finicky about that. So let me know if it looks and sounds okay. Anyway, yes, so what I'm doing with the armour on this kit is I am taking, for the most part, taking armour off the sprues, which I'm doing off camera because it's just here. But I'm not gluing all the armour onto the body of the knight because I'm going to have it separate so I can easily paint it later on and stick it on afterwards. Now, if you've not seen one of these before, on one of these streams, I've only done a few, what we are building is this. The Imperial Knight Preceptor CANIS Rex. Now I'm not building. This is the CANIS Rex kit. There's two Imperial Knight kits from Games Workshop. There's the Imperial Knight Warden, and there's the Imperial Knight CANIS Rex. It says on the box Imperial Knight Warden or CANIS Rex. Imperial Knight Warden, you can build all those because you get all the parts to build one of these. Or in the CANIS Rex kit, you get all of those plus the CANIS Rex. Now the CANIS Rex is a specific. I nearly said mobile suit then. It is a specific Imperial Knight with its own lore and story in the universe of 40k, and it's Princeps or Princeps. It should be Princeps really, because it's Latin. It's Princeps, who is Sir Hector Cerberin. There's a very specific story about these two. So people have said, how am I going to paint it? I'm going to paint it to look like that. It's going to have that colour scheme. I'm making the Canis Rex. Although I'm going to weather it. I'm not going to have it nice and shiny. But I'm not building one of these. I'm building that. People have asked me if I'm going to magnetise it. And the answer is no, because A, it's going to be for display only. It's going to sit in eModels cabinet forever, unless they auction it off. So it's only going to have that weapon and that weapon. It's not going to have lots of variations. You can magnetise these kits and swap all the weapons around if you want, but I'm not going to be playing it. It's not to be played on the tabletop. So we're just building it straight out the box. Bang, there you go. So no real magnets. So yes, but if you're wanting to get an Imperial Knight kit, I would recommend you get the Canis Rex regardless of which one you're making, because you can make all these in the Night Warden kit. The big difference is this one, the Canis Rex kit, comes with a cockpit and the Princeps in the cockpit, as well as him walking around. Because there's a gameplay reason he's actually a separate figure. The normal Night Warden kit does not come with a cockpit or a Princeps. So if you want a dude inside it just because it looks cool, get the Canis Rex kit. It's more than worth it. The reason with the normal kit as well, you also don't get a standing Princeps on a stand. The only reason you have him in this kit is because there's actually a gameplay reason. If your knight is taken out of action but not fully destroyed, normally when you destroy a knight in game, it explodes and does lots of damage to anybody near it. If you can disable it without destroying it, the person playing the knight can then place Sir Hector Cerberin on the table and play him as an individual, as if he's got out of the knight and is running around with his las pistol and doing damage. So there is a gameplay reason why he's a separate figure with this specific kit. But with this one, you don't get a pilot figure or anything. Although you could make him any Princeps. Doesn't have to be Hector Cerberin. So if you're looking at getting Imperial Knight to play it, or you want a cockpit specifically, get the Canis Rex kit. It comes with the dude and it comes with the cockpit. So that's one we're making. Just quick thing there for anybody who hasn't been watching. But yes, it is going to be easier for me to paint the armor parts while they're not on the Imperial Knight. That's the wrong nippers. Because a lot of times the armor, like on the legs and so on, you can get to it to paint it quite easily. It's not a problem. But what you can't do is then get to the workings underneath easily to paint them, or to the inside of the armor in case it's visible. So like some of this armor will sit on the shins like that. So that piece of armor sits there on the shin like that, which is great, except I can't really get around the back to paint the inside of it, and I also can't get in to paint this lot, which you can't really see anyway, but you can a little bit. So we'll paint all the armor off, and it just makes it a lot more accessible and easy to paint. You can easily super glue it on, it's no big problem. We'll get this piece of armor off for now. I'll just get it cleaned up, and then we'll crack on with the next bit. So anyway, how is everyone? I hope you are all well. I hope everyone is having a... Where's my knife? There's my knife. It is. Hang on. Oh, burpage. Apologies for the burpage. I've also got half my tools still in storage and not on the bench. Prepared and not prepared. So yes, how is it? I hope you're all well and having a good Friday afternoon. I hope you've all had a good week. As always, I had lots of plans this week to film more of my Lehman Russ eBay Rescue Paint series, and it totally didn't happen. Real life is really kicking me in the backside at the minute and getting in the way, so I've not had a chance to do a lot. So I'm glad I can... Basically, I always make time for my streaming content as much as I can. But sometimes, real life just gets in the way, like house stuff and all kinds of just, everyday things get in the way. Let's have a look. Max McGinn. I had a little read about the Preceptor Knight background. The Preceptor Knight acts like a mentor to armiger units and baby knights for training at hunting grounds on the homeworld. That is what the Latin word preceptor means, or preceptor. It means tutor or master or trainer. A lot of Games Workshop, you'll notice a lot of Games Workshop, especially the Imperial stuff specifically, they use a lot of Latin words or faux Latin words. But they're kind of correct a lot of the times. They may butcher the words a little bit sometimes, but they kind of mean the right things, because the Imperium of Man is it's kind of modelled on Rome in a lot of ways. Not completely, but in a lot of ways it's modelled on Rome. So They do use a lot of their Latin wordings. They're Princeps. Because one of the other knights is the... oh no, all the other ones are just given normal names. Okay, never mind. But Armiger, I think, is also a Latin... It might be a Latin word, I'm not sure. And Princeps, the pilot of the... And I keep wanting to say mobile. This is basically Warhammer's mobile suit. It's basically a Zaku, basically. Leave it at that. But yeah, the pilot's called the Princeps or Princeps. Same with big massive titans. It's still called a Princeps. But the idea of this specific knight, if you don't know the story, I don't know all the specific details off the top of my head, so I'm going to get some of these wrong. But basically, Sir Hector Cerberon's homeworld, where the House of Cerberon was the knights are arranged into houses, like noble houses. It's very medieval. And they are, you know, they fight on behalf of the Emperor. And Sir Hector Cerberon, I think, was like the head of the House Cerberon, which is his maniple of knights, his house of knights. And Armiger's another vehicle. Armiger's like small Imperial knights. And his homeworld, whose name escapes me, was attacked by Chaos forces, Chaos Marines and other Chaos forces from the Warp. And there were Chaos Knights and all kinds of combat going on. And pretty much all of the Imperial Knights in House Cerberon were either destroyed or captured. Now, before I carry on with that, next thing I'm going to do while I'm here is I'm going to clean up these exhaust pipes that we made last week. And if you remember, they've just got a mole or a seam going all the way down there. And what I did was I filled it with glue. So I just need to quickly clean that now. So I'm going to clean that with a file. So they attacked the planet. Many of the knights in House Cerberon were destroyed, and the Armigers. Some were captured, and when Chaos forces capture them, they restrain the knights and the pilots, and they start to kind of brainwash the pilots and reprogram the knights to serve chaos and become Chaos Knights. They try and install like demon engines into the knights and so on to turn them to chaos. Now, the thing with 40k is 40k in the lore of 40k, the Imperium of Man, because it's 40,000, 41st millennium. Humanity was brought to its knees by a revolution of robots and AI in the dim distant past, which is our dim distant future. So in the Imperium of Man, true AI is actually illegal and heretical and forbidden. Imperial Knights are kind of about as close as you get to AI. They have spirit called machine spirit, basically an AI, but it's usually fairly passive. And the way it works is with an Imperial Knight, when it gets a new Princeps, a new pilot, it psychically bonds with that pilot, and it retains all the memories of the previous pilots, the previous Princeps. So they kind of merge and become as one. And it kind of allows the knight to function as if it's just part of the pilot, and the pilot is part of the knight, and it's all just one single organism, and it moves effortlessly. But if you take the Princeps out, it's just an Imperial Knight. It can't do anything. It's just a machine. It's like a car with a really clever, processor. However, when Canis Rex, which in Latin means a big dog, basically king of the dogs, because it's House Cerberon being the three-headed dog. So this was like the lead suit of the House Cerberon force. When this was captured, the knight was restrained, and they started to try and brainwash it, if you want. They're trying and pollute it with demon soul, demon engine, turn it to chaos. And they tried to do the same with Sir Hector Cerberon, brainwash him into supporting chaos. But he refused, under torture, he refused to do anything and just simply prayed to the God Emperor of mankind endlessly. Resisted all tortures. And then if you in the law of 40k, a miracle occurred. The God Emperor granted a miracle, if you in the law, and without warning, the knight suit, Canis Rex, basically broke free of its shackles, resisted all programming attempts and pollution attempts, broke free of its restraints, and went on the attack to rescue Sir Hector from captivity. They were reunited and escaped on a ship with a small retinue of, assistants. And the planet fell to chaos, basically. So House Cerberus was wiped out, but the knight Canis Rex and Sir Hector and his small retinue of people to look after the night suit escaped on a ship, where they now travel the galaxy as a free blade. Basically, they don't have an official house. There's no House Cerberus anymore, so they're not assigned to a specific house. They're just a free blade. They're like a freelance Imperial knight who will do anything, who will fight for any faction of the Imperium wherever they go. If there's a fight going on, he'll join in defense of the Imperium. And the myth of Canis Rex is that it's not known how it just became able to pilot itself without a pilot, to fight off enemies and to rescue its princeps, Sir Hector Cerberus. And in our terms, we'd say, well, it's just got very good AI and it's very smart and it was able to do that. And for some reason, it was more powerful than any other Imperial Knight because, they don't allow AI. But in the myth and lore, it's because he prayed to the Emperor for help, and the Emperor did some cool things. It's all very pseudo-religious. But that's the story of the Canis Rex, and that's why it's got its own kit, because it's got its own specific storyline. That's why you get this kit has the pilot figure, because it's Sir Hector Cerberus, the Chainbreaker. He's called the Chainbreaker because he broke his chains with the help of his knight suit, and that's why on the livery of the knight suit you have chains on his pauldrons. This is Sir Hector the Chainbreaker. There you go. That's the story of Canis Rex. And that's why if you want to build it as Canis Rex, you can't really change the colours around it. It needs to look like Canis Rex because it's a specific... you build an Imperial Knight, you can make it look like whatever you want. But if you're building Canis Rex, it's a specific thing. There was an interesting Chaos Knight household called Cormentis, where on the homeworld they hunt powerful demons and beasts and harvest their souls to give knights unique powers. Yes, if on the Chaos side of things, whereas the forces of the Imperium, there's a big gap there, the forces of the Imperium use traditional machinery. That has a massive great gap on there. I'm going to have to fill that. That didn't squish properly. Darn it. They just use traditional machines with what they call, machine souls, machine spirits. It's basically just computers. They call cogitators. They're just traditional machines. On Chaos side, because they're all from the warp and it's all to do with demons and warp and stuff, they actually take the souls of demons and infuse them into vehicles. So if you get like a Chaos Rhino, which is an armoured troop transport with a Space Marine driving it, Chaos Rhino is basically a semi-sapient vehicle with a demon infused into it to control it. But it does, of course, have a driver who's in control of the vehicle. But instead of software, it has this demon engine, this demon soul in it. But the funny thing with Chaos that's really funny is that as the vehicle gets more and more, as it gets older, the demon engine takes over more and more control of it, and it kind of becomes more gross and betentacled and horrible and mingy, to the point where a demon engine in a vehicle like a Rhino can actually absorb its driver. It can absorb people in it. So if you want a plush job in Chaos forces, you really don't want to be the driver of a vehicle at all, because there's a good chance at some point you could just get absorbed into it and become one with the vehicle. Like that. So yeah, Imperial Knights, you buy an Imperial Knight kit, you can paint it however the hell you want. There are specific houses in 40k that you can paint your knight as, House Griffith, House Tyrannus, loads of other ones. Or you can do a free blade, which is a freelance knight, a knight with no house. Free blades allow you to paint an Imperial, if you're playing on the table. Free blades allow you to paint your knight however you like, and there are specific rules for free blades. Or you can use a different house's rules. You've got a lot of freedoms, but when it comes to Canis Rex, yeah, it's a specific knight, so you kind of have to paint it really to look like Canis Rex. I'm going to put some glue over this I don't want to have to fill this gap because but I've actually been able to fill it with the dust from sanding. So what I'm hoping is, if I'm lucky, it's just enough. If I put some very thin Tamiya extra thin over it, might just melt that. Not fill it at all. No, it's not filled it. Okay, what we're gonna have to do? We're gonna have to do some sprue goo. Sprue goo. G'day, bro. Now, I do have here some sprue goo. I don't think it's thick enough. Now, if you don't know what sprue goo is, sprue goo is a handy way of making a filler that's more sandable than any other filler you'll ever use on a plastic model, because it's made of sprue. Basically, you take yourself a pot of Tamiya extra thin and you drop into it bits of sprue, or you can use bits of plastic card or whatever you want to do. The plastic dissolves into the glue and makes this brushable polystyrene. What you do is you brush it on the model where you want it, you let it dry, the glue flashes off and evaporates away, and all you're left with is polystyrene filling the gap. You're basically filling a model kit gap with plastic model from a model kit, and that way it's completely sandable because it's just the same plastic as the model. Now this is actually a little bit thin. I'm gonna have to do my best with it because I'm not putting. I topped it up with polystyrene, but I didn't have enough spare. I've not got rid of all the sprue yet. What I tend to do is when it starts to run a bit low, I just tip in some more extra thin and get some bits of cut off sprue and put that in. So what I'll do is, you want it to be thick, and ideally what you want it to do is not run off the end of the brush, because it's got to be thick enough that it can form a bead over a gap. So it's probably going to be okay, but we need a very thin coat. So all you do is quite literally get your gap and you just brush on small bead sprue goo like that. That's all you need to do. Now it's just like any other filler. You apply it to the surface and then you let it dry and you sand it back. But the advantage of this, if you use fillers like putties or pastes or anything like that, they will fill the gap, but they're not as sandable as the plastic around them. Some fillers just tend to crumble away and some of them are rock hard. This is just polystyrene. You're filling a gap with polystyrene, with model kit plastic. So once that's dried, we can go in, sand it back, and it'll have seeped into the gap, and you'll just be sanding it back till it's a perfectly smooth surface. Now it can take a while. Sometimes you have to leave it for like 24 hours, so I'll mount that on a stick. I shall put that to one side, I think. For safety porpoises, I shall mount it to and stick. I'll mount it that way so it's actually the right way up. Okay. Can I do some clampetage? There we go. It doesn't dribble anywhere. It shouldn't do anyway. I will do that and I will jam it into my blue tack of happiness. We can leave that to do its curing. So when that comes to, you see me do it on the Eagle Transport. It's just a real quick and dirty way of doing filling. There is a place for fillers and putties and things, but I'm very lazy. And for a lot of jobs where you need to do a quick bit of filling and it's just a little tiny bit of filling, you don't need to go through all the hassle of using fillers and putties and mixing them all. Make yourself some sprue goo and always have it on hand. All you need is extra thin and bits of spare sprue. Now it can take quite a lot to make sprue goo. You can end up putting quite a lot of sprue in there. But just get your sprue, leftover sprue at the end of a build, and just chop it into little tiny pieces and dump it in. Make sure it's just thick enough that it doesn't dribble off the end of the brush. That's the only thing it needs to be able to do. Because what it'll do, it'll form a bead. Imagine you've got, you've got this bit here, and you want to fill that gap there. You put a bead of glue over it, and it'll form a bead of glue over the gap, and you just sand that flat. If you remember in the 80s, if you remember the old adverts for some spot cream thing to get rid of spots and acne and whatever it was, and they used to draw a spot on you, and then they used to do the cert, and they used to wipe it off. It's like that kind of thing. Don't know what I'm talking about. So that's that exhaust cleaned up. So there we go. Seam line removed. Or rather, yeah, seam line. I'm talking rubbish today. Let's drink some more coffee. That might fix me. So we'll have to leave that other exhaust. Now I'm not going to be gluing these exhausts on anyway, right at the moment. But what I did say I was going to do was temporarily put them in place, so that when I paint them, they get painted uniformly with the rest of the night suit. The reason being that when it comes to the carapace that sits on top here, it can sometimes be a very tight fit. And if you glue these exhausts on at the start, I can get it to fit, and then you try and put the carapace on which sits between them, there's one there as well, then you can find that carapace can scrape all the paint off your exhaust. So what's actually better to do, and I won't do it just yet, because, or shall I do it now? Shall I do it now? Yeah, I'll do it now anyway. Is to temper it. You can have them on a stick and paint them separately, but I want to make sure that when I do all my washes and stuff, they look the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself some CA glue, cyanoacrylate, or super glue if you prefer, a cocktail stick, something to put the glue on. There's my traditional glue on thing. There we are. This is very easy, and this is one advantage of super glue. Tissue, because I'll need some. I'll give the other one a few minutes and then I'll glue that on as well, just because it will now. Then again, I won't glue this other one on until I've sanded it, because I need to be able to get to that to sand it. So I'll leave that on the stick for now. I want to show you this process. So, super glue, cocktail stick. Now, I think I mentioned this last time or at some point, but the one thing of super glue is, have you ever done that thing where you take the top off the super glue and you get some out and then it gets bunged up and you just get a big pile of super glue on the nozzle? I'm going to show you how to avoid that. There's no pin, and I've got this nice open hole at the end of my super glue. I'm going to get some CA glue and just squish it onto there, like that. Now, if I leave that, that'll bung up and dry up and become clumped. So I'm going to wipe loads of it away. I recommend folding the tissue over so you don't get it on your fingers. And what I'm going to do is cover it and go knock it. I'll do it over here where the desk is. And that makes the camera wobble. I'm going to knock it and hold the tissue there for a second. Now what you'll find is some of the glue will bubble up. It is now. So just tissue that away. Eventually, this capillary action will make the glue pull up. It's kind of counterintuitive, but eventually, because I tapped it on the desk, after a few seconds, the glue will all run back down the nozzle, back into the bottle, and you'll have a clear nozzle. So I'll leave that for a minute. But that's the thing. If you do that, and my friend John Byers showed me that, and I didn't know that, if you do that, it guarantees that every time you want to get your super glue out, you don't have to drill through the... Often you'll have to get a pin through the top of the nozzle to try and make a gap. And I hate doing that. Do another knock, hang on. The camera will wobble because it's mounted to the desk and banged it on. There we go. So that is now nice and clear. I'll give it, just to be doubly sure, I'll do the little cocktail stick in there just to make sure. There we go. Perfect. There you go. That is guaranteed now that it's not going to gunk up. And since John explained that to me, I've never had to go in and open up the nozzle with a bit of pin or something. Pain in the bum. So anyway, yes, what we're going to do, the advantage of super glue. The reason you don't build a model kit completely with super glue is because super glue is pants in a lot of ways. It's brittle, it's easily broken, it shatters. If you drop a model kit made of super glue, it'll just shatter into pieces because the glue can't deal with shock force very well. Torsion and tension. But what it is, the reason that makes that useful here, because if I put a little bit of super glue on there, like that, that might not be enough, but it might be enough. And I put this in place, like this. If I'm lucky, give it a minute. Take a minute to set. If I'm lucky, that's enough, and there's a contact there between the two surfaces. It's not enough in there, is it? Yeah, let's put some more on. More on. I don't want a lot. I just want a bead of it. I just want to get it lined up properly. Just enough so that when I put it there, like that, it can hold it in place. But when it comes time, when it's all been painted, and I want to mount the carapace on top, I can snap it back off again, and it won't break the plastic. Like, unlike, if you did this with like Tamiya extra thin or regular Tamiya cement, you're welding the plastic together, which is what you want to avoid. And if you try and break them apart, you just break the plastic apart. With that, with the super glue, it doesn't change the plastic. So if I pull the pieces apart, I'm just breaking the super glue. Now I will have to then sand it back a little bit just to get rid of the little rough bits of super glue, but that's nothing, that's not a problem. So, hopefully, that will now stick on there. And hopefully it'll be reasonable enough. It's very delicate, it's a very delicate connection. But it's just enough to stop it falling off. So if I'm careful, that will stay on, and I can paint it all, get it all weathered, get it all painted up. And when I'm ready to put the carapace on the top, snap it off, clean up the joint, put the carapace on, glue the exhaust on, done, no problem. It just saves me having bits lying around, and when I'm painting it, I can make sure it matches with the rest of the bodywork. I don't want to paint this and paint this separately and end up with two different colours almost. But there you go. That's where super glue. And if you're painting, say, figures, you might see me do it sometimes with figures. If you've got a little standing figure and you want to paint him, but you want to be able to not hold the figure when you're painting it, what you can do is you can take a tiny touch of super glue and a spare figure base, and you can just put a little dot and glue him to the space, spray him with your primer, however you want to do it, and then you can snap him back off again, ready for painting. Or you can mount things to sticks. In the past, if I was painting that, I would mount it to this clampy thing here, and then I'd just paint it and spray it and stuff. I was spraying it. But what you could also do is you could just take a small piece of sprue and just super glue it to a bit like that contact point there. I could super glue it to that, and you'd have it attached. What's that bit of sprue? I could get a small piece of sprue and just glue it on there, and you'd have it permanently attached with the super glue for priming and readying. And then when you're ready, you just snap it off. So there you go. Super glue can have its wonderful uses for temporary. It sounds really counterintuitive, but for temporary fixing something to something else, super glue is really good because you can just snap it back. There you go. A quick look at chat, see what chat's doing. Paul Di Tommaso is in. Hello, Paul, my friend. Athol McNichols in. Welcome, Athol. Excuse me. I just realised I built the T34 before I have any paint to paint it with, says Common Road Junction. Now you get carried away. There's nothing wrong with that. La 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 la. Candygram says, thanks, hoping to get some lathe time this weekend. Hey, Candygram from Ongo is also in. But I don't know what he's talking about. I'm on live chat or top chat? Me? Where's my... There we go. I'm on live chat. I obviously missed what Candygram was talking about. My apologies. What are you talking about? I can't even see where Candygram came in. Apologies. Foxx blows my mind, says David Sanderson. Why? What have I done now? What have I done now? Is Foxx still waffling, says Sarah Jane. Hey, Sarah Jane. Yes, of course I am. So in the dim far future, Alexa takes over the world. Alexa, play Spanish Flea. Dad is now swearing, I bet. La, 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 la. If you made a custom free blade, what story and lore would you go for? Well, the lore, you can go for whatever you want. I have made, technically, well, it wasn't a free blade, really, but I will have, when I do my own army, I'm doing Imperial. My army that I've built a lot of and not painted any of it yet is Imperial. So I've got like Imperial Guard and Tempest Scions, and I've got some Death Corps, and I'm building some Space Wolves. So I'll make it, I'll be doing a Space Wolves night because I've got the head and feet for that. And that's not an official thing, so it'll be a free blade that's allied himself with the Space Wolves, probably. And it'll be technically a free blade, but he'll be painted up in Space Wolves livery and have a Space Wolf head on his knight and Space Wolf paws. And I'll get some of the paws and head for the art, because you can do Space Wolves armages as well with this. They've got 3-toed paws and they look like proper paws. The mint. Yeah. Although I did do an Imperial Knight Zaku as well at one point. I was going to do a Principality of Xeon army, but I never got around to that, finishing that. So, rip to. Funny, I bought a dozen different filled donuts this afternoon, and 2 of them are meant to be liquid chocolate. My favourite. Okay, I like liquid chocolate. Where are we up to? Okay, right, so that's where we're up to in chat. Bobbins is in. Welcome, Bobbins. I really can't see where Candygram came into chat. I do apologise. I don't know what people are talking about. Clearly, I'm not getting every single comment in my chat, which is a bit rubbish. Oh, greetings, everyone. Special hello to moderator Dad. Working now, can't interact much, but nice to hang around. Yeah. Anyway, let's crack on. So we can't glue on the other exhaust yet. That might be sandable in like an hour. It depends on how thick you put the sprue glue on. Sometimes it can be sandable in an hour. Sometimes you have to leave it overnight. So we'll see. Probably won't be ready in an hour, I don't think. I do apologise for the throaty cough. We'll cross off, not done the bit with the head army yet. Next we have, what have we got next? Little bits, little greebles. It's greeble time. So we have some, are they eagles or wolves? I need to clear my throat. 1 second. That's a big swig of coffee. Right. Now I have to tell you, if I do sound a bit distracted today, there's a very good reason. And the reason is I'm doing a slow cook. Because it was Mama Fox's birthday the other day. Now she's got an official birthday and the day before her birthday, because she's like, there was some mistake when she was, a million years ago when she was born, and her birthday varies between the 24th and 25th. In some places it's 24th, some places it's 25th. So there's a little bit of freedom there. So on her actual birthday, or one of the days, we got some sushi. We had to do a delivery of some sushi because she likes sushi. That was a birthday treat. And I said, what we'll do on the first day, we'll have the sushi. On the second day, I'll make you a slow cook as a treat as well. So she gets 2 birthdays, basically. Oh, find the bits. Where are the bits? There we go. 1, 2. 2 of them. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, they're all over. Right. So we had the sushi one day, and the next day was going to be a slow cook. So Tuesday was sushi, and Wednesday was going to be slow cook. No, Thursday was going to be slow cook. But the problem was, when it came to the second day, the sushi on the first night was fantastic. When it came to the second day, when we were going to do the slow cook, the meat hadn't thawed out, so I couldn't do a slow cook. So I'm doing it today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need 6 little eagle heads, and it's turkey mince. We're doing it in the slow cook, so it's fully thawed now. So it's turkey mince and all the veggies. And then millions of extra ingredients, special ingredients that I can't discuss what they are because it's secret. But they're awesome. I'll tell you some of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's Worcester sauce and soy sauce, of course. Of course, soy sauce. Mustard, English mustard. There is mint, some mint sprinkled on. There's some cumin. There's some paprika and chip salt. It's can't really explain what that is. It just is. Need one more. There's some chili sauce, like dipping sauce, that I've added, and this weird hamburger dressing, which sounds really weird to put hamburger dressing. It's like Big Mac dressing into a slow cooker, but it goes with everything and it mixes into everything. I've made it in soups. It's fantastic, and some other ingredients, bits and bobs, and it smells divine. And all I can smell is that, and it's making me really hungry. So right now, I'm not really here with you. I'm actually in my mind anticipating slow cook. Now, the last time I did a slow cook, a couple of weeks ago, I went through the same process. It smelled delightful all day long. Got up in the morning, sorted it all out, put it in the slow cooker, and away you go. It smelled brilliant. It was gammon that time. A couple of little gammon steaks that we put in there. It smelled fantastic all day long. It smelled brilliant. And I was doing a live stream then as well, and it was driving me nuts. And then it came to eating it, and it tasted like roadkill. It was, for some reason, right at the last minute, something turned, and it went from smelling like just happiness to and it tasted like roadkill. And I said at the time, the next day I said, but when I was a kid at school, I was given the task of... we had like display cabinets in the biology labs of animal skeletons and stuff. And what they did was they actually just found the skeletons, found the animals, and remade the skeletons. So I had to basically strip down what was a roadkill fox to get the skeleton, so we could reassemble the skeleton for the cabinets. Because you all know different skeletons, you can learn the anatomy of animals. It's kind of cool. So I had to do that. And I won't go into too much detail because I'm sure some of you might be eating, but put it this way. That smell of reducing the... if you've watched Bones, you know how they do it, and it doesn't involve beetles. That process of reducing everything down to bones made a very strong smell that caused the biology lab to be evacuated for 4 days. I now know that smell intimately now. That's what my gammon slow cook smelled like, and I'm like, I can't eat that. No. Something's gone wrong. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was that went wrong, but the gammon tasted horrible. It tasted foul, like literally like roadkill or something. something had gone wrong and reacted, and I couldn't eat it. And now it's like, I really don't want to ever try gammon in the slow cooker again, just for the risk of sitting there all day. It smelled delicious all day. And then right at the end, it was like, bleh, gone bad now. So I'm hoping, this is smelling delicious now. I'm hoping it doesn't smell delicious up until the last minute and then become horrible. Now, what we've got here are little tiny eagle heads. It's Imperial. Tiny little eagle heads. That are going to be mounted on little gargoyles, but they've got a mould line right down the middle. So clean that up. Are you not receiving messages from beyond the live stream? Check your phone. I didn't hear it go. I do have a message. Am I? Scaly Models, Mike Mountain says, you get Spanish Flea is now playing. Thank you, Alexa. I don't know why you didn't make a noise when the text came through. Or if it did, I didn't hear it because I was too busy waffling. Oh, classic. Why does it... Text me again, Dad, and just make sure it works. Or somebody, for some reason, sometimes, whenever I need to receive a text, my phone makes no noise. Yes. Thing is, Dad always forgets to turn his Alexa off. And the number of times, like me or Colin or Dave, will just do a quick test. And he'll be like, oh, I forgot to turn it off again. He never forget. He always forgets. So handy tip: if you're doing a live, if you ever do YouTube and you're doing a live stream, take every chance you can to say things like, "Alexa, play Agadoo," because at some point, somewhere, somebody's now going to be cursing you wildly for saying that. Same if you do it with Siri, but Siri's not as good, and Siri kind of doesn't really do that. So. Yeah, it's great. There we go. It's working again now. Thanks, Dad. So yes, I remember on not on one of my streams, I think one of Colin's streams, they did that for someone, and it was like 3 a.m, and they were trying to watch really quietly to not wake everybody else in the house up. And of course, they went, Alexa, played like Bavarian death metal or something, and their Alexa started blotting out this music at 1,000,000 decibels. Yeah, you got to be careful with us lot when you're around if you've got an Alexa. Happy belated birthday, Mama Fox 21 again, says Athel. Oh no, much older than that. Happy birthday to Mama Fox. Methinks Foxx moonlights as the Swedish chef. Oh, hello. Did you not think... did you actually get Agadoo then, Dad? Can't believe you didn't turn it off after I said the first one. Never mind. He sent me some rude words on his text message. Moonlights as the Swedish chef. The spaghetti stew. Now, I actually hate cooking. I hate cooking so much. And I have to turn my phone off again now, aren't I? Will you stop it? Just turn your Alexa off. Don't know. I don't. Right, I'm going to turn this off now. Yes, I did, lol. Okay, I'm going to turn my phone off now. I'm going to put it on airplane mode. There we go. So now, if anybody's to get hold of me now, you can't. It's all your fault, Dad. If I win the lottery and they can't get hold of me and they have to give it to someone else, I'll always blame you. Yeah, I hate cooking. I cannot stand cooking. The least thing I want to do ever, cook. I love eating. Cooking. And I was having this conversation with friends earlier on, and I was having this conversation with my mum, with Mama Fox, because my brother was trying to recommend that we get one of these services where, you know, like Blue Table, I think was one of them, or something like that, I don't know, where they send you a box full of stuff and it's all the right ingredients to make a specific meal, and you get like 1 or 2 a week. So, oh, you should get one of these. It's really good. The food's really nice and it's all the right ingredients and they tell you how to make it. And I was like, look, I hate every single minute I spend in the kitchen. I despise all the moments of my life that I lose to stirring things and warming things and panicking, trying to work out how long something needs in the oven and all this boring nonsense just so I can eat food. If I could afford to live on takeout food or just even good quality food that's been delivered and made by somebody else, I would do that. If I was the first thing I'd do if I won the lottery, I would hire a chef, a living chef, who would make all my food for me, because I hate it. I despise it. Everything in that kitchen is a tool of torture for me. No desire to do it. So I said, and so the idea of sending away a box of things that's going to take me 4 times longer than normal to make the food. Why would I want to make a lasagna from base ingredients when I can just pop one in the microwave? Why would I want to make a casserole from an animal and some plants that I've just pulled out the garden when I can just buy a bag of frozen vegetables and a pack of chunks of beef, bang it in the slow cooker and walk away for the next 3 hours? Cooking for me means I press some buttons and walk away for 45 minutes and come back in a bit later. That's as much as I want to do. Now I will take the time to make things like a nice spag bowl. There are things to make exceptions for. I do make a mean spag bowl if I do say so myself. And because I'm on a healthy food kick at the minute, I've really got into brown rice. So I'm making a lot of things that are brown rice, babe. We've got a rice cooker, so it'll be like I'll boil up some brown rice, or I'll put it in the rice cooker in the microwave, I'll steam it, and I'll mix up my veggies and other bits and bobs, and I'll cook up some meat of some sort, fry up some chicken or turkey or whatever it is, and then that all gets mixed into Fox's mess. So I will do that. But that's because I can do it in half an hour, and I can listen to my podcast while I'm doing it, and it's a known quantity. I'm not having to think, I'm not having to coordinate a gravy with the vegetables and how long do the vegetables have, and then if I have the vegetables for that long, I've got to put something else in. My worst nightmare is I have a meal with 2 ingredients, right, and they both go in the oven for 45 minutes, but they have different temperatures. That's panic time for me. I just put things back in the freezer and go off and order takeaway. Like, here, this takes half an hour at 200 degrees in the oven. This takes half an hour at 150 degrees in the oven. I don't know what to do. I do that. Yeah, no. It makes me want to go off and become a nun. I don't do that nonsense. So I hate cooking. If I could afford to pay someone just to make my food for me, I would do it. I win the lottery. It's the first thing I do is pay someone to make my food for me. I put that out. Right, let's get these glued on. These are little ornamental bits and bobs that go on. And we have 1 here and 1 here, and we have 4 here. Dead simple. Dead easy. Dead massive. Mold line. Damn it. Fail. Mold line removal. Fail. Now the thing with this model is I am building it slowly, and there's 2 reasons for that. One, I'm doing it for eModels, and I want it to look nice. But also, it's an Imperial Knight, and it's meant to be shiny. This one. And I'm going to weather it, of course, but a lot of this Knight is bare metal. And the one thing you learn with bare metal, painting because it's going to be shiny and bare metal before I get the weathering on it. I can't paint it rusted metal or dirty metal. I have to paint it metal and then dirt it up. And the one thing you'll learn very quickly if you're painting anything that's got bare metal on it, steel or whatever, silver, gold, it will highlight every single goddamn mold line if you don't get rid of them. So you have to make sure you're doing it right. Now, tricky bit here is I'm going to use the fat glue, because the thin glue, these are little tiny pieces. I'm gluing 2 flat surfaces together. What I need to do is fat glue, but the brush in there is far too large. I need a small brush. So let me find a small brush. Small brush. Now, luckily, I did recently find in my spare room 4 copies of issue 1 of Warhammer Conquest, which came with a crappy brush that you're never ever going to use. The starter brush, which is garbage. I'm going to use it for me gluing. Because this brush is far too big. Far too big. I want the thick glue. We'll put that there. And we shall slowly, carefully, apply the little doodads. It's not like it's a big load. There's so much glue in there. Not like it's a big load-bearing structure. but I want to be able to apply a tiny amount of glue. If I do extra thin, I've got to kind of fart around trying to get the little piece on the square bit and then line it up, and before, you know, the glue flashes off and then no longer sticks. With the regular Tamiya cement, the thickness of the glue by itself will hold that piece in place. Extra thin, that would have fallen off like 4 times already by now. But just because it's that glue, it just gives me a few moments, sticks more readily. So I will go in with the extra thin in a minute. I need to put more glue. There wasn't enough glue on there actually. More glue. I'm being a bit too careful. Get that stuck on that. It just stays in place. The extra thin that wouldn't do, it would just fall straight off. So there are times and places to use the fat, thick cement. And anywhere you want something to just stay in place. I will go over with the extra thin after a few moments just to run it into the gap. 1 second. But for the few moments before the plastic starts to bond, it's purely, there's a mould line on that, I'll have to clean that up later. It's purely the viscosity of the glue that's holding that in place. It's on this side, it'd be a bit easier, wouldn't it? Put them over there, I think. Shall have a look at chatting and momentings. Little flat square, and this is why I took great care to make these flat when I did all the sanding earlier on. Put your glue, and I hope you can see this. Purely the viscosity of the glue that's holding that in place. Now the fat cement is, it's a welding cement like extra thin, but it's not as aggressive. It doesn't melt the plastic quite so much, and so the bond it gives you is, I mean, it's absolutely adequately fine. It's you know, it's not going to fall apart, but extra thin will always give you a much tougher weld, much tougher bond. So I tend to use both. I only use the fat cement where either where I need a mechanical grip to hold it in place, or if it's two great big flat surfaces, extra thin. By the time the thing with extra thin is if you've got two massive flat contact surfaces, by the time you've gone from one end to the other, with your glue it's flashed off. So where the fat glue comes in. And if you're gluing things like arms onto figures, or, you know, I want to be able to glue an arm on and not have to hold it in place for 20 minutes. Again, mechanical. That's where you want the mechanical advantage that this glue gives you. Just gloopy. Gloopy! With the viscosity. Now, I did much better with these than I did on my first ever Imperial Knight, which had them all at wonky angles because I was an idiot. Okay, so we'll give them a minute, and I will get some extra thin on those. Now this brush isn't destroyed. I will get some tissue. I'll wipe it off. Although it's not ideal, what I can do, might not work, what I can do is nice propyl alcohol. Might not work, I've never tried this actually. Just see if I can. It might not make any difference. It might actually make the glue set even harder. Might make no difference at all. But it's only ever going to be used for glue, this brush now, so that's fine. No, that made it worse. That was just a quick test to see what happened. It kind of made the glue set even faster, so yeah. Don't do that. Oh no, actually, no, it's worked. It's still got some brushiness to it. Maybe it's a good idea. There you go. That'll be a good glue brush now. I just need to mark that brush so I know it's a glue brush. And what I've just realised, oh no, ignore me. We'll get that out of that. Then can go back in the pile. That brush is now nice and floppy again. That can be used for glue in the future. Now I did realise that I think I've already got a brush for glue somewhere. But never mind, keep that as a glue brush. I'll put it somewhere where the glue goes so I know it's forever. I'll write a thing on it that says glue. there you go. That's a good way to use extra fat cement. What I'll do now, I'll come back in with the extra thin. It was Britney Spears and it woke them up after they fell asleep watching. That's it. That's it. Always good to wake someone up with Britney Spears. They'll always appreciate that massively. Especially if the Alexa was on quite loud. Quick touch of the extra thin. All this will do is just seep into the little gap between the edges. And we'll just reinforce that weld even more. Because they'll be glued on there fine, but this just gives you extra contact. Because this will capillary action into all the little gaps. And give you utter complete attachment. As I may have only had there may only be a little tiny contact area in that one, so one of these. So you never know. Can't do any harm. That's little eagle heads glued on. Lovely. I do like the regals in the Imperium of Man. Who'd have thunk it, with it being an analogue of the Roman Empire? Who'd have thunk it? So let's get back over there. Right, what's chat doing? Let's have a quick look. People saying happy birthday to Mama Foxx. Scale modelling chaos is in. It could be you overcook the gammon as it can get ruined by overcooking. It was only given the usual 6 or 7 hours on a slow cook, so it can't really. Normally it just kind of just falls apart, but I don't know. Anyway, it tasted like roadkill. I'm never doing it again. Yeah. No. Ooh, my spray paints have just come. Need the weather to be nice, says Sarah Jane. That's the one downside of rattle cans. Dependent on the weather. Great in the summer, but terrible in the winter. Where are we? I love cooking, but I find it so relaxing. There used to be a chef, so cooking at home is a doddle in comparison, says Chaos. Well, yeah. I hate it. Sarah Jane, I've never worked out cooking. I start to cook when hungry, but as cooking takes time, I'll munch while waiting. Then when food is cooked, I'm not so hungry. Much easier to let someone else do it. Yeah. Mayhem says, great, Skyrim keeps crashing. I'm going to have to start again. What are you on, console or PC? New. Salad. I quite like a nice salad. I'm a total carnivore, but I do like a nice salad. One of our favourite meals in the summer when it's a hot summer day and I can't be bothered standing in the kitchen for more than like 10 minutes is like a big bowl full of salad, leaves, and so I'll get loads of leafy bits. I'll chop up some spring onions. I'll chop up some little bits of tomato and all of the little bits of salady stuff. Chop them all up in there, and I get some hot pack of like 15 hot dog sausages. Slice them up into little bits, cook them, and then dump it into the salad. Put in some salad cream or whatever sauces and flavours I want to put in there. Mix it all up, and I'm quite happy with that. Got a bit of meat in it. On console, says Mayhem, Xbox or you could have saved me the question. Xbox or PlayStation 4? I can't remember. I know you've told me, but I can't remember. No. Don't forget, if you're playing with mods, it may make things a little less stable. A little bit. Especially if you're pushing it to the limits. For example, if you're on Xbox One, remember that's it. Yeah, if you've got things like, for example, the one that gives you extra, the mod, this is Skyrim for anybody listening, the mod that gives you extra foliage like grass and stuff is really great, but you must also have the one that reduces the percentage and amount. I think it's verdant grass and verdant grass something 30, because if you just use verdant grass as a mod, for example, it has all this grass and flowers, which will make the Xbox fall over because it's pushing it a bit too far. But there's a mod then that can reduce it down to 60% or 50%, so it's not quite as full 100% of all the grass it pops in, and that then helps your frame rate, things like that. But Skyrim crashes all the time anyway. Right, it is now time to build little wee tiny fella, the little wee princeps that goes inside. So let us get that built. Now we're not going to fully assemble the cock and pit and gefarten because I want to be able to paint all the consoles, and so we're not going to glue the guy into the cockpit either again because I want to be able to paint him. So we have to build the dude and Sir Hector walking about. So let's get the bits for that. There we go. So we need the very special sprue. There is basically one sprue that sets the Canis Rex kit aside from the standard Night Warden kit. That is this one, because it comes with the weapon, the what does he call it? He calls it a massive great laser, he calls it, and all the extra bits and bobs and the bits for Sir Hector. So it's the only difference between this and the Night Warden kit. Cows eat the green stuff. I eat the cow. Nice arrangement. Why ruin it? It's just extra bits. Skyrim always crashed on me. The game was terrible on release, says Sarah Jane. It was fine for me. I started on Xbox 360. Beta pasta salad. Oh, yeah. Right, so we need the bits for Sir Hector and for the cockpit and Gefarden. You can see this is all the cockpit parts. All the detail on that. I'm going to be able to paint those bits in there just about. There's lots of little displays and cockpit details and stuff of instrument panels. I should be able to paint those okay. But what I want to do is this instrument panel that goes on the front, I need to keep that separate because that's got a little sort of radar tactical display on it. And I want to try and see if I can do a little sort of cross-hatched 1980s green screen style, green CRT style graphic thing on it. So we'll give that a go. So we'll keep that separate. We'll keep the chair. I'll do a dry fit of the chair, the back of the Throne Mechanicum, which is what it's called. See if I can still paint, because it's got those little details on it, so I don't know yet. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, let's get some bits off the sprue. So the first thing we need to make is the seated Princeps, which is 11 and 10. I can't wait to paint these dudes. I'm reluctant, or I'm worried about filming. I don't have a problem painting figures. I'm not the best figure painter in the world, but I don't have a problem painting them. What I don't have a problem doing is painting them, because they're so small, and I'm filming on an iPhone, so yeah, it's not that easy to get the camera in there to see all the details being filmed. So I'm hoping I can film painting these dudes. 15 and 14 and 16. 15, 14, 16. Wait a minute. I've dropped something here. I've done it wrong. Put the wrong ones on. I'm going to take these off again. These heads, these eagle heads. Oh! While they're still loose, I can pull them off and sand them down. I thought there was something wrong. I put the eagle heads on. You actually get wolf heads, because it's the House Cerberan. You actually get wolf heads to go on those bits. Oh! I just noticed them. Very Space Wolves. So what I need to do is leave them for a bit. I'll have to come back in and just sand them, because I've got a bit of scribbliness there from the glue. Sand that back flat again and just glue these other ones on. So no big loss. It's not the end of the world. Everything can be fixed. I just suddenly noticed them on the sprue. I'm like, wait a minute. Them's are wolfy heads. Doggy heads. 3, 4. Missing 2 of them somewhere. 5. Missing 1. I'm going to put them in there for now. So yeah, nothing's ever a disaster. Even if they glued on completely horribly and were permanently fixed, you could get your modelling saw and hack them back off again. So no biggie. You're not going to see that surface, so we'll sand that down in a bit and we'll get that sorted. Good spotted. Good spot there, chat. I'm sure you all saw that before you told me. Are you going to use Periscope Green for the displays? Love the effect on the Zaku, says Lee Stevenson. Welcome, Lee. I think what I will do is I will probably, for this, I want to create the kind of, if you like a Pip-Boy sky, I want to create this kind of green dumb terminal, go back to the 1980s green CRT screen effect with like a sort of like a thinking like Battlezone, the video game. You've got like the vector graphic style with the lines. The way you're supposed to paint it is to have these little graphics on it, like it's like a targeting computer. What I'll probably do is paint it in a bright white, and then I'll go over with Ammo by Mig Periscope Green, because that makes a really nice green screen effect. It collects around the edges and goes dark and is brighter in the middle where it's thinner, so it's lighter. And then I'll just use the finest brush I have to paint on the lines and stuff, just to get a nice crisp set of little vector lines on there. Athol says to try to paint the screen with a brush and then using cocktail stick, draw across the screen in yellow. You can do that. I've tried that in the past for fine details, but the stick doesn't have a reservoir of paint Whereas if you get the fine enough brush, you can paint the finest of lines, but it's got a reservoir of paint in the bristles. So I prefer brush. But I've never been able to do it yet very well. It may just end up as a simple green screen and not much more detail. I don't know. In reality, what I'll do is I'll paint all that and then I'll put the lid down on the night and nobody will ever see it, but hey. But I don't know yet. But yes, I will use periscope green on that because it's my favourite go-to colour for sort of green screen effects. Nearly an oopsie, says Mayhem. Yeah, nearly. I think it deserves. I think that potential oopsie requires a swig of coffiness. Not an oopsie, just Foxy not looking ahead. No, what happened was I looked at that and I didn't see that, which shows 29 Wolfie head. I looked at them and thought, looks like a dog head, but it's supposed to be eagles. And I looked on the sprue where all the other bits for the torso were, and I didn't realise it was on this sprue. What number were they on the other sprue? I don't know what numbers they were on the other sprue. Don't know. Anyway, it's because I built one of these before, so I didn't see that. It was literally I didn't see that. That was the problem. I did look at them and think they're a bit flat for eagle heads. Yeah, it don't matter. They come off. They'll be fine. Right. So, where are we? 15, 14, 12, 13, 14 and 15. So there we go. 12, 13, 14 and 15. I'm going to be careful cutting these off because they are small parts. And I don't want to cut into them with my big dodding nippers. So I'm going to go around them, keeping in mind that part of one of these arms, or these two arms for the seated princeps, is actually he's got like a control stick in his hand. It looks like excuse me, the control stick looks like the bit of flash you would normally cut off from the sprue, so got to be careful here. I'm going to cut around this one because I can't quite get to the bit of the little twig it's attached to, but I can cut him off the sprue like that, and then I can go in like that. I couldn't get my nippers quite there, but I don't want to mangle up his actual shoulder pauldrons. Legs are 12 and 13. Easier to get off the sprue here. 12 and 13. Yeah, I make mistakes like that all the time, really, honestly. You know, as I've got older, I've got less and less able to read instructions like a normal human being. It's kind of true. Sad but true. And I do make goofs like that all the time. But most things are fixable however you do it. Like I said, if I'd not spotted that until like 3 hours from now, it would have been a simple matter of just cutting those off with your hobby saw. Not with the clippers or a knife, because you'd be rough, making a rough mess, but get your hobby saw and saw them off. And you're good to go there. So let's get these bits cleaned and dated up. Quick look at chat. The voice of the saying of men not reading instructions. Exactly. No, true. Absolutely. Men and idiots. I am a man. I'm also an idiot. So I have a special place set aside for me in idiot heaven. That's there. We'll just get this little nubs cut off. That's his head, and that's the cabling that goes from the back of his head into the throne mechanicum. Because pilots, the princeps of a knight is connected to the knight. It's a bit. They are kind of like mobile seats in a way. You know, the pilot in a mobile seat is connected to allow very fast real-time processing of his input signals. Kind of the same thing. They're connected to the knight, and it's what do you call it? Machine spirit via the throne mechanicum, which is basically the pilot seat, but it's got connections to it. And not all pilots, not all princeps that are selected for Imperial Knights actually succeed, because when you link to your knight for the first time, you basically download all the memories and experiences of all the previous princeps that have been there before you. So you have all their knowledge and tactical experience and so on. And not all potential princeps can cope with that. Some can go insane. Some can just fail miserably. It also, the personality or the way although it's not like a massively complicated AI, the machine spirit of the knight, it still does. It's this AI to a certain degree, and it has its own. Sorry, I need to clear my throat again. It has a kind of basic autonomy, and it will take traits of the princeps who's bonded to it. So if you're pilot and you bond to your machine and you're like really, really evil, you'll have an Imperial Knight that's really, really evil. It'll do evil things. If you have but you can get things where, say, a princeps will try and bond with an Imperial Knight that's got a long and storied and noble history. And if that particular princeps is like the black sheep of the family and is really evil, the knight may reject him because there's too much of a conflict between what that new princeps wants to do and their personality and the experience of all the previous pilots who were noble and good. Really I love the sort of the deep thought they've put into how these things work in the 40k universe. It's fascinating. It's a little bit fantastical, but that's the universe of 40k for a little bit of fantasy going on there, mixed in. It's all to do with psychers and stuff. It's to do with, you know, the power of the warp and many things. Oh, have some mold lines to clean up. Oh god, there's even little dials and things on his arm. Ugh. Yes. Someone who's used to painting like very large space marines, and not very large but considerably larger than this guy, Tempestus Scions, an Imperial Guard who are this size but not quite as detailed. It's going to be challenging to paint this, but it's not going to be impossible. I've got me good brushes. We'll win. We will succeed at this, not a problem. Ajit will paint this very well, I hope. Now, the thing they've done here is they put this nub on the inside of the pauldron, which I hate when they do that. They're really hard to get out. Hard to get a knife blade in there to flatten it down. Get in. Without, of course, you know, gouging your own finger or whatever. You are building, by the way, and you're a younger builder. Please be careful with knives. If necessary, get an older person to do these bits for you. To get this with the file, I think, aren't I? I don't like using the file on things like this, but can't get the blade in there. No detail on this side anyway. Just leery of using a file and sanding where there's so much fine pauldron detail to play with. Basically, his armor is like it's a mirror of the knight armor. So he's got pauldrons and stuff. Kind of cool. Should go in quite nicely, I think, without too much fuss. Yeah, I'll be all right. You can see it a little bit, so I'll keep working on it. Just getting it at this point. I'm just trying to get it flat. Now, even if you're not interested in 40k or, you know, Age of Sigmar or anything like that, and you have no desire to play the tabletop games, I do strongly recommend, if you're just, you know, because this is a stream for eModels, and of course eModels sell lots of models, and the majority of eModels modelers, customers, probably aren't familiar with or used to or have any interest in 40k and will never play the game. But I have to say, even if you've got no desire to play the game or anything like that, you really should check out the models just as models, because in my humble opinion, the two best, absolute best model manufacturers around today, different reasons, are Bandai and Games Workshop. Now, Games Workshop kits they're not going to have the complexity of like a Ryefield 135th tank or a Trumpeter aircraft with a billion bits of photo etch. But that's not what they're trying to be. They're beautifully simple for the most part. And they're incredibly detailed, but it's the quality of the manufacture. They're so beautifully cast for the most part. There are some really old kits that are a bit shonky, but you know, that's 25 years ago. For the most part, they're beautifully made and moulded. You'll have a blast making them. They're a joy to clean up. I hate build. I'm a painter, not a builder. I always say it. I'm a painter, not a maker. And I hate the building process. Or I don't enjoy the building process as much as I do the painting process. But when it comes to Games Workshop, for the most part, I actually adore the building process. Because they're so forgiving. There's great detail. Even if you've got no interest, do go and check them out. Bandai, of course, master and excel in the world of push-fit models. But again, it's more the engineering that goes into Bandai kits, the quality of their product. You know, the detail, the quality of the plastic. It's just... But even if you don't have an interest in that, I can still strongly recommend go and read up on the lore and the backstory. If you enjoy a good, if you're a bit of a reader and you like a good tale to be told, and you enjoy reading like lore and backstory to stuff, finding out why things are the way they are, 40K's got it in spades. It's been going for 40 years. They've got tons of backstory. And it's all real Game of Thrones style of level depth of weird bizarreness going on. There's so much you wouldn't even believe. It's just an endless supply. It's the gift that keeps on giving. I just love the AD mech when they try to solve blue screen of death by burning what? Oh, I love the AdMech when they try to solve blue screen of death by burning incense candles, chants, prayers, and rituals, and they turn it off and on again. Absolutely. Yeah. Because in the way the Imperium works in the present day, if you know what I mean, present day in the universe, is that it's really forbidden it's heretical to develop new technology because it's the big fear that drives the technology of the Imperium is the fear that AI will rise again and destroy humanity, because it really was the rise of AI. It was the war against the men of iron, they were called. Humanity spanned the galaxy, and it was the most advanced and widespread civilization throughout the whole of the Milky Way until the war with the men of iron, which basically all the AI became too advanced and fought its creators and almost wiped humanity out. Reduced many human colonies to Stone Age levels of technology. So the Emperor, before he became, the Carrion King, the Emperor, one of his abiding things was to rebuild humanity as the prime species in the Milky Way, but to never again put it at the risk of technology defeating him, it becoming a threat. So technology was kept on a kind of, if it's existed before and we can remake it, that's fine, but don't develop new stuff for the most part. That's why AI is frowned on. AI is absolutely forbidden and heretical. Although when they talk about machine spirits, it's kind of AI, but that means that the AdMech, the Administratum, the Adeptus Mechanicus, who do all the mechanical stuff and the engineering, they kind of don't really understand why things work. They don't really recognize an AI as an AI. They just kind of, like he says, they just light some incense. They have a more religious view of it. They light some incense and say the prayers and incantations. Make sure they have the relevant unguents. Turn it off and on again. So they can create existing tech. They just, for the most part, can't innovate. It's not exclusive. They can do it, but very rare it happens. Right, so that's all the bits done. We need to clean all these up now. Such a great nub cleanup. I'd done some Chaos Marines just after. I'll start that again. LD. Hey, LD. Had such a great nub cleanup. I did some Chaos Marines just and after doing some Conquest Marines last night. These ones were much quicker. Oh, yeah. I'm just going to remove a comment. Please don't mention other traders in the chat if you can avoid it, folks. Thank you. It is an eModel stream, so it's rude to talk about other traders and retailers. Candy Man from Mongo. I've written a decent number of instruction manuals. I'm not saying any of them are any good, but I did get paid for it. Oh, that's saying about me looking ahead in the instructions. Yeah, tampering with technology is heresy, but meanwhile, Belisarius Call developed new primary space marines. Yeah, there's little bits where they'll push it here and there. Right, and I've got to clean up this beautifully sculpted head, which you guys can barely see. Oh, it's got a little rivet. Oh, it's got rivet. He's got like a bit on the top of his helmet with little rivets along it, and I've got to try and get the mold line from between these tiny microscopic rivets. They're too small for me to replace with my own rivet. I don't actually. I could get rid of them and replace them with my own. I think they might be a bit too small for that. I think I might have to, because getting rid of this mold line without filing the... Yeah. Oh, there you go. Maybe not. If you remember last time, when we did the bits on the sides of the torso, I scraped the rivets away along with the mold line, because I knew I could replace the rivets. But these little rivets on the top of his helmet is like a strip on the top of his helmet. The rivets on here are so small. They're smaller than anything I've got. I don't think I could replace them without making them look a bit shonky, so I want to try and keep them. But thankfully the mold line is quite delicate, so it's actually, I can get rid of it with the knife blade quite easily. The gap between the rivets is too small for me to do that with my removal tool. But I think I've managed to get rid of it with the knife blade without scratching the crap out of the plastic. Okay, that's cool. We got away with that. Very careful. Tiny little bits between rivets here, because he's got this armor plating with a trim on it, and the trim is where the rivets are. It's quite frustrating. Yeah. Line down the middle of his visor area, or his mouth area. I can go over that very gently with a sanding sponge. Too bad. This is really delicate work. It's like a Space Marine. You can go in with the scraping tool and get rid of any mold lines, but this is really fine. He's got all this filigree and detail on his helmet. I'm going to be really careful getting rid of the mold lines. It's going to look pretty good. Now there probably is a mold line right down the middle of his actual visor. This is where my scribulatory tool comes in, my Tamiya Mark II scriber. He's got like a little recessed visor. I mean, you probably can't see it. He's got a little recessed visor strip, like a Cylon. What I'm going to do is just run that very gently, very, very gently down that, just to get rid of the mold line that goes down the middle of it. I can't quite grab it. I don't want to grab it with anything, because if I use my little grippy crocodile teeth thing, it'll knock at the plastic. I'm going to very gently run the scribing tool through the little trench where the visor is, like a little slit in the front of the helmet, and very gently run it along the inside just to remove that mold line. There you go. Spot on, I think. I'll have a very delicate sand. I think I've got away with that. I think. And normally I would get some extra thin to clean up any little rough scratchy marks and things like the scribing tool, but I can't afford to do that on this helmet because the detail is so fine. And what will actually happen is, although it looks fine to me now, when I actually put some paint on it and do a shade on the trim, I'll see a great big mold line. I'll be like, oh! But by that point it'll be too late, so I hope I've got everything. Cool, that's the head done. Now only all the rest of the body to do. This may take some time, folks. Swig of coffee. Yum. Athel's off, he's got to go. Another courier's row with the packages for his neighbours. Yeah, we get that all the time. Take care, Ethel. See you soon, mate. Thanks for coming in. Got some ink. Oh, I'll start again. LD says he's got some artist ink to try on those Chaos Marines. Cool. What are you going to use the ink for? No. In chat. Pandogram's talking about his concentrifier. He's making the device that means we can all drill barrels without any mistakes. Currently getting some challenges. I'm sure you can do it, dude. You can do it if you're being cute. There's no mold line on the torso rear side. There is... Is there a mold line on the front? I don't think there is. Jolly good show, GW. Oh, there's a tiny one. There's a tiny little mold line. Just... Oh, no, there isn't. I can't see a mold line on his torso at all. Oh, no, very... maybe very slight. I can probably just sand that. It's so delicate. Sometimes GW do put absolute blinders when they do their two-pot, because it's a two-pot mold like any injection molding, and you get the mold line. But sometimes they manage to get the mold lines just in a perfect spot. So there you go, that's the torso. I can glue that together now, actually. Now he's going to be sat in the cockpit, so I'm not too fussed about... There will be a little seam line going down the side of his torso, but in all honesty, he's going to be in the cockpit, not really going to be visible. So I shall glue that together. Put some glue to his neck area there, and to his intimate feminine area under there, and just to the side. I'm using very little glue. I'm just letting the glue pull itself in. I'm not sploshing it around. I'm literally letting the capillary reaction take that glue into the gap. So that's the torso. I don't know if you'll see this, but there's so much detail on that torso. Maybe you can see in the armor, there's like different plates of armor. There's the material undersuit, there's clasps and clamps and locks. It's like all the detail of like a 1/35th figure, but in much smaller, 1/24th figure, but it's just much smaller. Insane, absolutely insane. We'll put that there. I could actually do his bonds on right now. But then again, I want to make sure his head is lined up with the Throne Mechanicum input. Right, so I won't glue his head on just yet. I'll wait till I can seat him roughly in the... Because what I want to do is I'll dry fit the cockpit and seat him in it roughly. And glue his legs on so they can still be moved around a bit, and then just put him in and make sure everything lines up, and then let him dry. Whenever you've got a pilot who's holding control sticks and things like that, you want to make sure it all lines up. So you've got to have some wiggleability, I think. The best way to do it. Foxx, I'm trying to paint all my Death Guard from Conquest, but I can't settle on a common colour scheme, so they're all different. Does that matter? Not really. Doesn't really matter. If you're playing on the tabletop, doesn't really matter. As long as you say, because different okay, with Death Guard, like with Astra Militarum, you might have different regiments or brigades. With Death Guard, you have different vectorums. And a vectorum is like a brigade, or it might be like a family of Death Guard, all with different colour schemes and stuff. And they sometimes have different rules when you play. So the only thing you need to do, if you do play them on the tabletop, is just say, these guys are all different colours, but they're playing as whatever. Playing as, you know, whatever the just so you say you play with one set of rules. Most people would be fine with that. The beauty of Death Guard is there's no real massive solid colour schemes. They can be kind of however you want. Because there's no official, like, I mean, the Death Guard tend to be green. There's one Vectorum that tend to be like an off-white bone colour. But there's loads of different ones. I think it shows different ones in the magazine as well. You get a list of all the Vectorums, but it doesn't really matter. If you're not playing them, it doesn't matter at all. You can pick them however the hell you want. If you want to play them on the tabletop, you just need to say to whoever you're playing, they play as, you know, Death Guard or Toxic Hands or whatever the other I can't remember what the other Vectorums are called. I think Pallid Hands are the ones that are white. off-white colour. I might do mine pallid hands, actually. I do like that kind of bone white, off-white colour. Nice colour. It shows rust and stuff more better, even though technically ceramite doesn't actually rust. Really wish you could see the detail on these things close up, but I can't get you in to look at them close enough. I'm very, very happy that the mould lines go away so easily with very little effort. Because I need to use the knife. Can't use the scribing tool. And normally the knife will just scratch the crap out of the plastic. And you have to do lots of sanding, but these are so delicate, these moulding lines, that I can just scrape it off, no problem. Beautiful, beautiful. Right, time for the arms. How are we doing for mould lines? Any of them? Might not be any. Often they're kind of quite good with arms. They tend to put mould lines around armour panels, which is what I think they've done here. Can't see any mould lines on that arm at all. A little raised bit here. That's also kind of like a knuckle, so kind of get away with that bit. What I tend to do on the fingers is just very carefully. You often get a mould line on a knuckle, so very carefully sand it very gently and then go with the scribing tool between the fingers just to make sure there's not like a lumpy bit in the middle that says there used to be a mould line here. If you imagine you've got that and then you've got like a strip of plastic there, you can sand that away off the top of the fingers, but you have to get it out from in between the fingers as well. Otherwise, when you paint it and you put a wash on his hands, you just see this big dark spot where there was a mould line. So dead easy. Scribing tool is a vital piece of equipment. If you haven't got one, get yourself one. Strangely enough, eModels.co.uk, your one-stop shop for all your model making needs, happen to have scribing tools. They do, because there's the model tool and they do. Now, in fairness, of course, as well, you're not really going to see the underside of those knuckles too much because his hands are going to be down like that on the control sticks and you're going to see it from above. So I wouldn't lose too much sleep specifically on those. But I wanted to show you how to do it. It's actually not too bad. Excellent. Good job, G-dubs. Right. Knife away. So we've got him. I don't want to... I'm always ambivalent to glue legs and arms on if there's even the slightest hint of play in them. If it was the glue locked into a specific position and didn't move, I'd glue them together. But I want to make sure he sits right in the cockpit. Now there is a tube here that links to a bit under his arm there, which probably locks it in place quite nicely. I can probably, in fact, I can probably get away with that. This one, because I can use this bit of piping, make sure the leg's in the right angle. That will probably actually be fine. I'll glue the leg on. I can get away with that, I think, because there is that little bit of piping to lock it in place. We'll do that again. Before we want the leg to stick on through, so I can use the fat brush for this. Touch of the fat glue. It's got a square peg into which the leg locates, which is a handy starting point. That can go there. Get a touch of extra thin just to glue the little tube, the little bit there. Glues that in place. This locks the leg in place. I didn't put a lot of fat glue on there, so. In case you're wondering, by the way, it's not actually called Tamiya Extra Fat. I just like to call it Extra Fat as opposed to Extra Thin. One leg. Now, for the other leg, yeah. I do love making figures, GW figures. I don't know why. And that. Oops, and it doesn't go on there. Yay! Down. touch of extra thin. Go. Just to glue the pipe with the bit it goes on. Touch of glue around the gap. Perfect. That should be happily able to sit on a 90-degree edge. Yep, there we go. That's fine. That'll be fine. Perfect. In fact, if I wanted to, I could sit him on the lid's on my glue first. Always put the lid on your glue first. Could sit him on there. Fits him perfectly. That's all right. That's good. We like that one. Do you like that? So there. I don't think it is. He does just sit directly on that. The only bit of the throw mechanicum that you have to add is the back panel. We'll do that in a minute. There we go. That's there. Oh, his arms and head bonds. We'll put that there. We'll get the other pieces off the sprue. We've had a look at chat. So yes, doesn't matter what colour you paint your Death Guard. Like I say, if you're never going to play the game, you can do it at home. You can make them neon pink if you want, and make up your own lore. Or just paint them however you want. If you're doing them to play on the tabletop, though, again, it doesn't really matter. But just make sure you say to your opponent, "I'm playing them as Pallid Hands or Death Guard or whatever the Vectron," just so they know, because there's different rule sets. Like there might be one Vectron that can do a certain thing. Another Vectron might not have that ability, but might have a different ability instead. So, you know, one Vectron might have more health, but less psychopath abilities. There's different things. But again, unless you're playing a tournament, 99.99999% of the time, when you go and play a game in your local shop or at your mate's house or whatever, or wherever, a local club, and you say, I'm doing this and this, most people don't care. It's only when you play an official tournament that you have to make sure everything is by the book. Although, having said that, one thing that you're not supposed to do, where does that go? One thing that Games Workshop frowns upon is walking into one of their stores to play a game and putting up loads of Forge World pieces. Because Games Workshop and Forge World, it's all the same company. Games Workshop are the mother company, the mothership. Forge World is a division of Games Workshop, or sort of a sister company, but they're the same company. Forge World basically do resin. Small run, much more expensive resin kits. And you can't buy Forge World anywhere apart from actually online, or, I know we say don't talk about other traders, but this is relevant. Online on their website, or at the one and only Forge World store in the entire world, which is in headquarters in Nottingham. And they don't even sell Forge World stuff in the Games Workshop stores, so you're not supposed to take Forge World stuff in. And absolutely what they don't like is they don't really mind, most managers don't mind, but what you would never do is go to an official Games Workshop Warhammer tournament at Games Workshop's headquarters with non-Games Workshop things on your troops, because, you know, if you go to play an official Games Workshop tournament, you have to have all Games Workshop product. You can't walk in with 3D printed stuff or third-party resin add-on parts. No. Because you're basically saying, I didn't pay you for any of this stuff. We're going to play it at your tournament. No. But what made me laugh was the manager of my local store played in an in-house tournament. So it's an official Games Workshop tournament, but just for staff and stuff. Oh, he was playing in a thing that the public could play in. And he had a load of, I think, Dark Angels. He basically he bought a load of like third-party resin backpacks. And I said, are they going to, he said, they won't notice. And if they do, I'll just be like, oh, I don't know. Apparently they didn't notice. There's this member of staff actually breaking his own rules. I just thought it was hilarious. Yeah. Yes, it's a shame. Forge World is the prestige resin side of it. You get a lot of more niche kits, but you can only buy them from their website or from their one store. Of course, you also need to know how to do resin, which is resin's my arch nemesis. But I have just, taken delivery of some more Deathcore Krieg, so I need to get over that quite quickly. Yeah. So we'll get this cockpit loosely assembled, just so I can get the dude in. I don't think I need to worry about these nubs so much. Very loosely, how does this go on? This basically sits there like that. So that sits there. Go on. Like that. That's where you cut this piece off here with this big dot in the middle. And it sits like that. So I don't really need to worry about those nubs there, other than make sure they're not sticking out and getting in the way. They're not fouling anything. You're not going to see anything of that. All you're actually going to see is the interior. So I don't need to, if you're making this yourself, don't worry about cleaning up these. Just get rid of them so they don't stick out. What's chat doing? Got some in Death Guard green, which I don't like, some in rust colour and dirty silver Death Guard. Yeah, check out the Foxx. They don't follow any law scheme. Well, there are Vectorums. So, like I said, I think it's Pallid Hands is my favourite one. They're the ones that are like bone white, but they're covered in rust and streaks and horrible stuff. The Conquest magazines give a real basic introduction to Vectorums. I've got a Death Guard army, so I need to pick them up at some point. But Death Guard are basically Space Marines or Imperial troops who were corrupted by chaos and given the blessings of Papa Nurgle, the chaos god Nurgle, who is the god of disease and pestilence and sickness and illness. And they fight for Nurgle. They're traditionally shown as in green armour, but that's no different to Space Marines traditionally being shown as blue Ultramarines, which nobody likes anyway. So, yeah, you can paint how they want. I say, if you're not going to play them in a game, it doesn't actually matter. You could paint them neon pink with yellow polka dots if you wanted. That sounds like Mr. Blobby. Can confirm. Paul's in. Paul at Team Inept. Fox's phone is on silent. Booing indeed hiss. No, it's not on silent. It's on airplane mode. I'll turn it on and see what you've sent. Probably a rude word. He has it in disappointment mode. Well, welcome, Paul. I assume that's Paul from Team Inept. Modelwork says, looking forward to 6 PM today, Grum. That's me for 3 days. That's me on a 2-week break. Cool. Foxx, I see you like the bike I gave to Festa, says Graham. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not my kind of kit. I wouldn't build something like that myself because I have no interest in bikes, but it's a lovely kit. I think Colin's going to love that. Oh, look, I've got 2 text messages. Oh, no, they're from. I've turned it off again now. Too late. Yeah, no. For those that don't know, Colin, our very good friend Colin, Festa 67's workshop. Graham wrote. I've just turned that off. Why is it? What? That's not right. Paul sends me a message saying, hello, is your phone on silent? Widge. And for some reason, the text message came through when I turned it back onto airplane mode. That makes no sense at all. Yes, it's on silent. Yes, it's staying on silent now. Thank you very much. Yes, Graham sent Colin a very nice gift. Oh, hello, Graham, by the way, in chat. The Italeri 1/9 scale. I can't remember what the bike was now. But Colin loves his motorbikes, you see. Colin's well into motorbikes and stuff, so that was a very nice gift. Like I say, I don't do motorbikes. I have no real interest in things like that, but yeah, Colin will love that because he likes his bikes. He used to work on bikes. That was his job. He used to work in a bike shop doing customs and stuff. That'll be right up his street, that will be. Plus, it's massive. It's massive. It's like 1/9 scale, was it? Big chicken. Right, so that's the back of the Throne Mechanicum. Mayhem says, widge. iPhone flip switch at the side. No, the flip switch at the side is a mute button. You know, I know what Paul's like. I'll just put it on because it'll still vibrate, and he'll send me so many texts it'll vibrate off the desk and fall into oblivion or somewhere. I don't know. It was a triumph. That's the one. It was a triumph. Yes. Well, that was better than nothing, said Paul. Anyway, yes. So there's the back of the Throne Mechanicum. It just slots in there like that. Looks nice and padded. I can imagine that in a nice kind of oxblood red leather. It was very nice. My pilot will have the finest 40k version of a leather wingback chair. So he needs to go in there like this. Kaplunk. But I need to make sure his head bonds, the back of his helmet, has the bit of magic string. That's his arm. That's another arm. The back of his head bonds has the back of all the pipes and tubes that come out of his helmet. It needs to link into that little circle there. Because he's connected to his throne mechanicum. So what I need to do is glue on the bonce area. General bonsulatory area. Let's do that now. A little touch of the extra thin. I can be fairly quick with this. Extra thin. Get it in. It won't really stick very well. In fact, now let's just do it with extra. Let's do more extra thin. I pull it in there. Can go in there, and I can sit him down in his special driver's seat. I'm not going to glue him into place, but I can just make sure if I push him into his seat, his head will default into its default position. I can touch some extra thin in there into his under his chin area. That will now glue in the right place that all the cables and pipes go into the back of the seat. There you go, job's a good one. So I'll take him out again in a minute. So I've not glued him into place. I've not glued the back of his head into the back of the throne mechanicum or anything like that. Scaly Model says to Paul, I've already done the abusive text messages. Yes. Alexa, play I'm a Barbie Girl. Right now we're swearing. What's coming through on my phone now? So I'll look and see if anything's coming through. Oh no, no. Just said widge 3 times. Triple widge. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. So we do have also the arms to do and the side panels. The side instrument panels and the front instrument panel. I want to keep them separate because I want to be able to paint them. We've got 19, 18 and 17. We'll get them off the sprue while he's drying. Scaly Model says git. You didn't turn Alexa back on again, did you? Oh dear. When will you ever learn? Honestly. What was it? 18, 19 and 17. So 17 is the front console. Wrong nippers. So I'm not gluing these in place because that will be a crazy thing to do. You will end up with a lot of bits of things on sticks to paint. 18 and 19, which are the little side instrument panels. So that one of the things I have to paint in here is it appears to be a fire extinguisher. Cool! Or some sort of hydraulic device. And 19 is that one. Lots of dials and almost like pneumatic, you know, like a rev counter or something, like a dial in a glass, like a pressure dial or something. I do like the kind of steampunk look of some of this stuff. Now this is attached by 2 twigs here. I want to not snap it, so what I'm doing is cutting halfway through one and halfway through the other, and then going back and forth and just teasing it out. William Rayborn's in. Hi everyone. Foxx 3, Dad 0. I need it on to use it, says Dad. Oh no. You shouldn't have said that. Now we know it's on all the time. Yes. Unfortunately, I have an awesome one, but I can't remember the specific name of the song. And I'm like, oh. Nub there, little nub there. This one here. Great big nubs. Now I think these are underneath, so I'm not too fussed about whether they're visible, but this one on the top you can clearly see. I need to make sure this is nice and clean. Your top must be clean, but your bottom, don't worry about that so much. I think that is the, yes, that is a lower area. You're never going to see under there. But don't worry about those nubs, because that goes, it goes dropped when you do it. That goes there. And once that's glued in place, you will never, ever, 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 ever see that. No human being will ever see that again unless they take this cockpit apart, which is never going to happen. So don't spend time cutting away nubs. You don't have to worry. Now, I could leave that. I could actually glue that in, you know. Theoretically, I could glue that in place. There you go, that's with his head glued in place now, so it fits. I could glue this front console in place. It just sits on there like that. And it would be fine to paint. You know, I can get in there with a brush to paint it, but I just think if I have it mounted on a stick or separate on something where I can get around every angle, makes life a lot easier. Because when it's done and painted, all I need to do is simply put it there, touch the extra thin to that bit. Now, if you're careful when you've got two painted things, as long as I scrape the paint off that contact surface, put it in place, and just touch the extra thin, it will seep into the gap and not mess the paint job up. But remember, again, when it goes into place in here, you're not actually going to see that lip anyway because it's well under there. So again, if I was to put this into place here, touch some glue to there, and it made a bit of a mess of the paint job, you can't see it. Always plan these things. Plan these things carefully. But this bit here needs to be nice and neat because you can see that top surface. So let us just sand this away. Be nice and flat. I can't remember the name of the song I was going to punk Dad with for is Alexa. Hilarious. iPad volume is quite low, so Alexa shouldn't hear it now. Alexa, play Tiger Feet. Playing Tiger Feet. Ah, we love you to bits, Dad. Don't ever change, because the comedy will die if you do. Right, so what I need to do now is find my knife, which is under there. So on this one, we've got some little nubulations. There's dog next door, but one barking its backside off. Somehow in the intervening 2 or 3 years, it's been indoors for the last year. Somehow it hasn't actually dropped off the twig yet, which is most disappointing. I never wish harm on anything, but next door but one's dog needs to just shuffle off this mortal coil as soon as possible if it can. Because everything it does is utterly annoying. Absolutely. There's nothing it does that isn't utterly annoying. Can't control your dog. Not like my next door but one neighbours anyway. What were you doing in chat? There's always time for abusive chairs, but I can get off the naughty step now, says Max McGinn. Alexa, play theme tune from Z Cars. Alexa, play Crown Court theme tune. No, that's not very good. You want to come up with a theme tune that's really bad. Alexa, play Dempsey and Makepeace theme tune. Pretty bad, trust me. That's pretty bad. Actually, I hope he had it turned off at that point because that's wishing the worst on someone. I wouldn't wish Dempsey and Makepeace theme tune on anyone. It's a classic kind of, we want to make an American sounding theme tune, but here in Britain in the early 1980s, we kind of always have a French horn somewhere in our theme tunes, and so it doesn't really work. Thanks. Yeah. It's the French horn that just kind of ruins it and makes it sound like some real crappy British production. Which, where around does this go? Goes that way around. Okay. She can't hear you, lol. Damn it. He's raised shields. It's no good. Shields are up. I can't get through them. Darn it. Curses. Curses to all of you. Right, now these side panels, again, these just, I think, just attach like that, I think. Just attaches on the side like that. So, what I can do, again, when it comes time to glue these on, make sure there's no paint on the rear panel, or the rear of the panel here. Touch of fat glue on there. Put it in place. Or even just put it in place and a touch of extra thin on that little gap there. Because if you use a small enough amount of extra thin, it'll be enough to glue it in place. There's a little gap there. If it does mess up the paintwork, I can easily touch that in very quickly. But it means I can separately paint this now. I don't have to try and paint it because it's got this little tiny screen here. Little tiny buttons. It means I can paint these bits separately and not have to worry about them too much. You don't need, I could just glue these in and it will be not that hard to paint. Not that hard to get to, but be painting everything from that angle. And yeah, if I wanted to try and write something, if I wanted to suggest some sort of text or graphics on that little screen, it's going to be hard to do it when it's like that. So we'll keep them out. Really hungry now. I want my slow cooking. The thing is, I didn't get the slow cooker on till about 11 o'clock, half 11, so it's not going to be ready till like 8 o'clock tonight. Torture. House is filled with all the most wonderful smells that I can't eat. Expanding sponge, don't want that one. That did not go well. Let me try that again. Nubulations on here that I need to try and get off. It's quite tricky. There are little tiny details, but they are on the bottom of that little pipe and tubing, which means again not going to be that visible once I put them in place. So that goes there, like that sits on that side. Now you see this one is all mechanical gubbins and some buttons. So that one, theoretically, well, you've got these little sort of valve pressure gauge type things, and there's what I might want to do is paint the metallic colours but have the little dial section where the readout would be as maybe white. So having that not installed gives me the option to do that carefully with a very fine point brush, which I don't have that option if it's attached to the wall. Again, it means I can have it like that flat and touch the white paint, because it's got like a little, that's like a pressure gauge thing that goes like that, and there's a little white strip where the markings would be, and I can't get to that if it's vertical. So, well, we shall keep it separate. I think it will all come out fine. Also makes it easier for me to film as well. Anyway, yes. Dad, you haven't asked the question yet at all, have you, in the last 2 hours? I haven't asked it either. So, as none of us have, at least I don't think Dad has. What the question, of course, folks, is bench and belly. What's on your bench? What are you building right now? And what is in your belly? What have you had for your dinner? Or what are you having for your dinner? Tell me with words. Tell me with the words. Now, we need to get the arms on, don't we? I'm not going to glue anything in. This mat out of the way. Let's move Uncle Travelling Matt. There's a Fraggles reference for you. I wonder how many people actually realise that Travelling Matt, which was the character, in one of the characters in Fraggles, was actually a reference to a filming technique, like a matte painting that moves. So these little bits that he's got his hands on, they glue onto his shoulder, obviously, but then they locate into little recesses in the arms of the Throne Mechanicum there. What I need to do is pop him out again. Get his arms on. I was going to move that, that's the whole point of me moving that. Get his arms attached. Again, like before, with the fatness. And then I want to be able to wiggle them around a little bit. So let's do a quick dry fit. Do the pipes and tubes go anywhere? Okay, they pretty much lock into place, but we won't make any assumptions. We'll do a little touch of the fat glue. Just have to hold it in place and then to miss. That locks in there. The reason I'm being so careful is that they do lock into place. Like I said, it's a square peg and a square hole, but there's a little bit of wiggle room. And the worst thing you can do, it's the same whether you've got, like, you know, somebody holding a weapon, you've got separate arms. The worst thing you can do is just glue an arm on and then find out later that it doesn't line up with the thing it's supposed to be lined up with. Like, so he's there, he's got his hands on the control sticks, whatever you want to call them. I guess it's throttle sticks, like a HOTUS, but that'd be the throttle part. He's in there. I can make sure his arms are pushed down. I can make him sit down like that. I can make sure his arms are pushed down enough that they locate into the pins, into the gaps. And I can come in very carefully with the extra thin. And without actually gluing him into place in the chair, I can touch some extra thin to his shoulder, just to get it to run down the crack in his armour. Hopefully glue his arm into place a bit. Then what I can do is, very carefully, pull him back out again. His arms aren't going to move. I can now get some glue down the back there. And down the back there. Tiny pieces, free for a pound. I can just do a very quick test fit again, just to make sure it's all still kosher. Get him in. Get him in there. And get him in. That all looks spectacular. Push his arms down again. Basically, I'm just pushing his arms into place, so they're not floating up with a big gap. And that is him. Lined up and spot on perfect. Yes. Spot on. Just about spot on. There we go. There's a little bit of wiggle room. Now, the thing you'll see there, of course, is that once he's installed into the Throne Mechanicum, and I'm going to take him out again, but once he's installed in there, if I get the... Let's cut this bit off the carapace and I'll show you what you can see. I'll cut this piece off the inside of the carapace. Let's have a look. Interestingly, this bit here on the carapace is just to stop the plastic on the other sprues above it sticking up and damaging it. I'm going to cut away from the edge because I need to make sure that's nice and clean. If we just trim that off. Oh, 1 second. I know you can't see what's going on. Trim that away. Now, you install him in, knock the camera, and then he falls out. Brilliant. There you go. Well done. Nice and shiny. There we go. How to do it the right way up. Let me just see if I can get him in this way. If I can do it by looking underneath. 1 second, folks. There we go. When he's actually in the cockpit, or you're not even really going to see the Throne Mechanicum behind him. You're just going to see him in this bit of cockpit. Now, of course, I'll paint it to look nice and bright. And those of you with the ability could add lighting to it if you wanted to. So you're not really going to see much more than him. I'm not going to skimp out on painting him, but what it means is when it comes to painting the Princeps here, you're never going to see everything that's on his back. For the most part, you're not going to see his back at all. Let me just double check. Easier if I took this off the sprue, really, but get back in place again. There's no way for you to see beyond. And keep in mind the door will be here as well if you have the door open. There's no way to see beyond the top of his shoulder. You can't see what's on his back. So you could be forgiven for just doing a paint what you see. You can't see beyond the crest of his shoulder there. So you could be forgiven for just not bothering to paint that. And there is part of me that says there is no point in painting all this detail here, you see. It's like he's got little sort of pouches on his back there and stuff, and bits of piping that you can't see it. You literally cannot see it. It's not there. It's not visible. It's impossible. But then, the reality, of course, is that you might want to use this figure somewhere else. That's why they give you all the detail. because a lot of 40k is customization, and it might be that you think, well, I've got this spare Princeps. I want to use him in this other place because it'll look mint if I put him controlling something else. Or you might want to use that torso for something else. So good that they give you the detail, but you can't actually see any of it. So I probably, myself personally, I probably won't paint back of his legs. I won't paint this part of his back here. I'll paint the pauldrons and the arms all the way around because you can see that. And I'll paint the head fully. But that part of his back, there's no point in me painting that because you're not going to see it. And once it's glued in, that's a gluing surface anyway. If I did paint it, I'd have to scrape all the paint back off just to glue in place. So yeah, but it's a beautiful figure. You can really, I can zoom in a bit. It look terrible though, but let me try. Hang on. If I zoom in, it's going to look like absolute garbage. And it's not going to let me zoom in that much anyway. Beautiful detail figure. It's just all that stuff on the back there you can't see. That's a fantastic. All that armour, all the interleaved parts of armour. It's beautiful. I'm really looking forward to painting that puppy. One more double check because I've been handling him a little bit, so I want to make sure his arms are still in the right place. Yeah. So I'm going to leave him there just to set for a while so his arms can set. Because I'm in such a good mood, I'll give you a bonus TED.
Slap it on.
There you go. You always get a bonus TED when I'm in a good mood. Swig of coffee. And anything else for the cockpit? I think that's it. So you'll have little side pieces and the front piece here. That will sit there like that. And there we are. For the first time, you're actually seeing the cockpit of an Imperial Knight. And that's why if you want to have a cockpit on your Imperial Knight, you have to buy the Canis Rex version. If you buy the Knight Warden, you don't get any of this. Of course, you probably could just pick up these on a auction website, perhaps, because there might be people that build Imperial Knight and don't use this bit because they're having the door shut, in which case you can probably pick these up spare anyway. But it's the same kit, so right, so I don't know if you can see on here, that's what he will look like when he's installed and painted. That's how detailed that dude is. I can't wait to paint him. I really can't wait to paint him. So that's the cockpit bit done. Let me mark it off with my pen of marking things as done. Done, 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 done. Where are we on? 11 minutes past. I wonder if we can get I'm not confident we can get walking Sir Hector done in an hour, but in 50 minutes, but we'll give it a go. Yes, I asked earlier, says Dad. My apologies, I didn't see it. Dirty Great Chicken Salad for dinner, and the bench is still pretty mojo free, says Paul at Team Inept. Why is it I don't recall having a pilot in my Imperial Knight kit? Because it's only the Canis Rex that has that. It's the new kit with the pilot. Because it's a specific, I said this at the start, but you weren't here. It's a specific kit with a specific backstory. And the reason that you have Sir Hector in walking form, well, the reason you have him in sitting form in the cockpit is because you also have him in walking form, because you can play him without the knight. If your knight is crippled and is like down to 0 health but doesn't explode, you can take it off the table and replace it with him as if he jumped out and he's got a weapon he can fire. So, but there's a specific law reason why you get the pilot for this one. Also, there's a specific we want to sell lots of these reason as well. Yeah. So, I think people have been asking him GW to do cockpits and pilots for a long time. Finally got around to it. But it's kind of cool. But you could, pick that up elsewhere. Not that we will discuss such places on this live stream, but you know where I mean. David Sanderson, bench, Death Guard Tallyman, and the Lord of Contagion, Bell, Baked, Spud. I'll start that again. You missed out punctuation and letters. Bench, Death Guard Tallyman and Lord of Contagion, full stop, belly, with a Y, baked, spud, salad, and trimmings. Ooh, is the trimmings beef and steak and kebabs? When I get some more airbrush practice, I'll be starting my last night from my box set. Cool. Dad likes Timmy Mallet songs. Alexa, play any Timmy Mallet song. Model Making Truck is in. Welcome, dude. Welcome, welcome. He says morning. Belly says scale model chaos. Chicken fingers, potato unicorn. Potato unicorn. What the hell's a... Is it literally a unicorn? I'm not... Yeah. Chicken fingers, potato unicorns, and baked beans. Oh, my daughter chose dinner. I'll start that again. Remember a swig of coffee. It's fucking gibberish. Now it makes sense. Right. Belly. Chicken fingers, potato unicorns, and baked beans. I fully subscribe to that menu. Bench is the Montoon Pershing tank. Just started building for new video build series. Cool. Just testing new Foxx, as David Sanderson. Trimmings, pasta, olives, cheese, etc. Yeah, good lad. Right. LD says, Wheel, hopefully we can meet up at Telford this year. I doubt it. Not that we're going to discuss such matters in this live stream, but I'm not confident Telford would even happen this year. I certainly wouldn't be going anyway if it did. But I shall not elaborate on that further. It's not the place for such discussions about such matters related to the world being on fire, because YouTube has a habit of deleting streams that discuss such controversial issues to prevent misinformation, which is fair play. Right, so we get these legs cut off. Cut his legs off! Oh, it sounds painful. He's got some honking boots on him, Sir Hector. Boots that go all the way up and they've got like buckles and straps. It's a mint outfit. I do like his outfit. I'd happily be a Princeps. Even though I'm putting my life on the line, I'd happily be a Princeps if I get to wear the mint outfit. Now, the problem I've got with this, not a problem, but the challenge I'm going to have is that often when I've got a choice between a bare naked head on a dude or dudette or a helmeted head, I will take the helmeted option because it's a lot easier to paint. I'm not going to mince words, Bones. It just literally is that. It's easier not to paint the face. However, Sir Hector is a character, is a named character. And he is actually, in his walking around on the ground form, there's no option for a helmeted head because he's got his helmet under his arm. So Games Workshop are like, oh, I heard that you don't like painting heads. Good luck with that. Thanks, Mum. So I have literally no choice at all but paint Sir Hector's face. Now, bizarrely, he looks... I'm going to paint him in his... He's portrayed with grey hair or white hair and white beard, but he looks so much like my secondary school deputy headmaster, who had that same kind of beard and hair, that I'm tempted to paint him brown hair. Or, looking... Now, you won't see this, but bizarrely, he kind of looks like a meaty version of Richard Stilgo. It's very straight. I'll take a picture later and put it on the Facebooks and stuff. He looks like a slightly more buff version of Richard Stilgo. I think it's the shape of his mouth. But yes, so I have no choice but to paint Sir Hector with his head out all over the place. Gosh darn. Thanks, Game Workshop. Rule mistress, you. Sometimes you have no choice. I don't mind painting. I mean, it's not... I don't mind painting faces. They are tricky, and being able to film painting the face, probably not going to happen because it's too damn small. But I can't do eyes. When I paint faces, I tend to not bother with the eyes. I just literally get some shade in the recess where the eye socket is and leave it at that. Because from the tabletop distance, that's kind of fine. Unless you're looking at it close up, it just looks like an eye that's in shadow. So we won't worry about that too much. I can go with my scraping tool here because it's not quite as detailed and fiddly as the helmet. Fiddly helmet. Richard Stilgo. Now there's a blast from the past, the scaly models. Oh yeah. When you get a chance, do a Google search for Richard Stilgo installing a window. There's a little video of him in the 1970s, how to install a new pane of glass in a window. It's hilarious. It's typical Richard Stilgo. If you don't know who Richard Stilgo is, you clearly weren't around in the 1970s and you're not old. So revel in the fact that you're not old. If you know who Richard Stilgo is, he's still going, you know. Still alive and kicking. God bless him and all who sail in him. Now, I know you can't. I know what I can do. Done this before. I've done this before. I know what I'll do. I will. I'll put him on some blue tack. I'll take a photograph. Are you ready? I'll get my phone out of its case. I don't want to show you all my bank cards. Take a photograph. I'll also stop my phone being black and white. Take a photo. I can get close enough. It might not be in the right light, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, it's Richard still go. I'm going to take a photo. And then I can show you on the camera. Now keep in mind his right eye is a big like cybernetic device. That is what it looks like. It's a bit out of focus, I know it's not quite close up, but there you go. That is kind of like slightly meatier Richard Stilgo. If you know who Richard Stilgo is, you'll be like, that is Richard Stilgo. But look at that head. Look at the detail on that. That is beautiful. And it's that big. It's that big. That is the head. That. And that is incredible. I'm really looking forward. Although I don't really like doing heads because I can't do eyes, I'm happy to do that one. Happy to do that one. Richard's still going. He's still, yes, he's still going indeed. Yes. Is that plastic? Let's see if this is ready yet. Can we sand this yet? Let's get the fingernail. No, it's still a bit squishy. Can't sand that yet. So yeah, the detail on some of these heads. When you get like the rank and file characters, the sculpts can be a bit bleh. But with this guy, it's beautiful, beautiful. Because it's all designed on computer now. It's not. These figures aren't hand sculpted and then molded. They're just all done on computer. Yes, that is he, says Scaly Model. It does. Defo looks like him, says David Sanders. It does look like Richard Stilgo. Quite amazing. Foxx, I think Richard has appeared on Countdown. Yes, he was a regular on Countdown. Where are we doing? Bonked. Yeah, going back to the other conversation, I'm not confident it'll be a Telford this year for various reasons, but I'm not going into details because I don't want to get this video pulled. But yeah, it's optimistic thinking. Not impossible, but unlikely, because I think the reality is that to set up something like an exhibition like Telford, it's the kind of thing you have to start sorting out while you're still running the existing, like, you know, if they do a Telford this year, they'll be planning next year's. It's not the kind of thing they can book in at the last minute with the Telford Conference Centre, because nobody knows what the situation is. I don't think you'll see one this year just because there won't be time to get it set up. I think next year is a more realistic option, because this, for something that big, you've already booked the conference space like in the year before. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong. I just know that we used to, when I used to work with my friend doing detailing, we used to actually book a stand. We used to have a stand at, excuse me, we used to have a stand at Waxstock, which is the UK detailing thing, and that was in the same place, Telford Conference Centre, the week before the ICMS show. It'd be really weird because I'd be there at the conference centre for 2 or 3 days, plying my trade, as it were, and then I'd come home and then I'd have a few days off from work, and I'd go to Telford for the show, for the model show. So I'd be going to Telford and back again, and never ending. But we used to have to book that, you know, well in advance, you know, January, February time. So I suspect right now the conference centre isn't taking. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't even taking bookings at the moment, because they don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? Who knows? It'd be nice if there was one, but I don't think there will be. And even if there was, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't risk it for a biscuit. Not yet. There's a little knob here, and it's quite tricky to get to. I can't get the nippers in there. I can't quite get my knife in there either. Oh, I think I've got it. There we go. I hope that was a nub that I've just cut off, because if it wasn't, I've made a right mess of that strap. Tricky to get to, though. It's a right nightmare place to put it. It's really stressed the plastic a bit. It'll be all right, but it's just a bit rubbish. fine. That'll be fine once it's got a coat of primer on it. It's gone a bit white where I've stressed the plastic, but get some primer on that. You won't even see it. I've got to be careful. It's tube, you see. Tube. Yep, defo looks like him, says David Sanderson. Just like, it's amazing how I see people's faces in things. And it's the bizarrest of faces. He looks a bit like my old deputy head as well, so it's just, when I was at secondary school. I might give him brown hair. No one will know what this means, but I might make him a little thing to tribute to Roy Coleman, my old deputy head. He was awesome. Died many years ago, but lasting impact. I don't know if you won't really see here, but look at all the straps on his legs. There's millions of them. He's like, that's some awesome armour he's sporting, I tell you that. A fantabulous outfit he's got. But unfortunately, his left arm, he's got his helmet under his arm, which is like, oh, thanks. Got no choice now, have I? Gits. No choice but to give him his bare naked head. Nope. Up under his chin. Yeah, any more bench and bellies? Don't forget, of course, folks, please do feel free to ask me things. If you want to get my attention in chat, make sure to put your comment in big fat capital letters, or do @ModelMakingGuru, because I'm not logged into chat as eModels, but I'm logged in as Model Making Guru. Or just do a super chat. Hit the little dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat window. You comment in a big coloured box, and there's no way I can miss it then. I've got my lenses on, I can't really see much. Now, the one shame of the helmet under his arm thing is he's got the helmet under his arm, but it's solid. So the only option you've got is to paint a black bit underneath that makes it look like the hole in the helmet. That's a shame. They could have, I think, because it's all CAD design, I'm pretty sure they could have somehow figured out how to mould that as a hollow helmet, but never mind. Not the end of the world. It's a bit rubbish, but a bit of a disappointment, maybe. But not rubbish, I suppose. Where's the mould line? Can I see a mould line? I don't think so. I don't think so. I can't see an obvious mould line on it. Obvious mould line, but thankfully it doesn't have the little rivets on the crest on the helmet, which is quite good. Blarpatron says mayhem. There you go. That's how you make my name stand out, so I can see your comments. Can you see a mould line, Captain? It's near there. I don't know where it is. I won't see it until I get a coat of paint on it. I won't see it when the primer goes on. I'll see it when the first coat of gold Retributor armor paint goes on top of the metallic seal, and I'll be like, oh, now I can see it. Fudge. I think I can actually see a little hint of it. Just right down the middle. I think. Same as the other one, we'll just go into the eye slit. Or the viewing slit, or whatever you call the little knight helmet bit in the middle. Eye hole. Somebody go on Google and find out what the name. If you're a knight with a helmet with the single viewing slit, well, that's actually cool. It's probably got a French name, because all knight stuff was French for some reason. Find out what that's called. Go and have a look on Google, somebody. What was the little slit in the knight's helmet called, so you could see? The embouchure or something. It'll be some fancy French word. They're always fancy French words. Paint me like one of your French helmets. Okay, now what I need to do is, it's only 28 minutes past, we've only got half an hour to go, but I'm dying for a great big wee. So, give me a minute, I'm going to put you on hold. I think I set up a pause animation for this, but I'm not sure. Still can't see a mold line. Just on the off chance there's one of this tubing, I'll do that. I shall come back to you momentarily after I've had a great big week. So let me see if this button works. I don't know if I set something up. Hang on. There we go. Right, back again. Jiggity jig. Where are we up to? It's called a visor or visor, says Mayhem. Yeah, but no, a visor's more like a thing you flip down, but there must be a name for the actual just hole. I mean, it's a visor if it's a flip down thing on a like a motorbike helmet, and visor doesn't have a Z, it's an S. I've decided. You spell it with a Z, then it's like spelling laser with a Z, and you just get sent the finger of shame. Anybody who spells laser with an S deserves everything they get. I mean with a Z, sorry. Yeah, spell it with an S, you spawn. Don't ever spell laser with a Z. I will find you. I will kill you. I won't really. I don't, it might be, I don't know. Visor doesn't seem right. Visor, I don't know. It doesn't seem like the right word to me. Pillarbox slit. Frogmouth helm. Right, I have to go now. Possibly see you all on Skyrim Saturday. Bye, says David. Panzer says Foxx is called the slit of seeing things. Peephole, says Paul Di Tommaso. Follow his noggin, says Mayhem Model Works. Drill out the helmet, says Paul. Is it possible to... I don't know, because it's not... Half of it is actually covered by his hand. It's like... imagine that's underneath the helmet and this is solid and he's got his hand like that. So he's kind of got his hand over half of it. So you'd have to drill out this bit and then do some serious carving. I don't have the tools to do like... If it's like just a helmet and I could just do a circular hole, I could do that. But it's... Yeah, I don't think that's... I've not really got anywhere to sculpt the hole properly. That's not really an option, unfortunately. I did consider that, but... Yeah, that's because he's got his hand over half of it. And knackers you for that. Sure, if you had the right sculpting, scrapey tools, you could probably do it, but I don't. I literally have a pin vise and a modelling knife. I've got some sculpting tools, but they're not really good for doing anything on plastic. Also, to clean up. Fox, shut up, you Burke. It's an ocularium. Ocularium. Is that the real word? That would make sense. That sounds Latin. What do you mean, shut up, you Burke? Why am I Burke? Is that because he's put visor with a Z, which is illegal? Ocularium. That's very Skyrim, doesn't it? Ocularium. I know a few people that have started playing Skyrim for the first time, because I do a Skyrim Saturday stream on my channel. I play Skyrim, and I know a few people that have like picked up Skyrim for the first time, either on Xbox, on console or PC. And I was like, I'm so envious of them being able to play it for the very first time. They've just entered a world of so much potential and excitement and adventure that you can play in so many different ways, and they've got it all to experience for that very first. I wish I could go back and experience like Skyrim and Fallout 3 for the first time. You can't. It's not the same when you go back. I've played Skyrim, like I've been through it like 4 or 5 times now, hundreds and hundreds of hours. I've currently got like 3 different playthroughs on the go. I've got my Saturday playthrough, which is all mods. I've got my own personal playthrough, which is all mods, and then I've got a non-mod playthrough so I can get achievements. Because I like to use the Xbox achievements to get the free Xbox Live. Yes, I still love it. I love it to bits. I've done all the quests thousands of times. I've deleted more playthroughs than I've actually got now. I'm still finding stuff. I walked into a tomb the other day, and this was on the non-modded playthrough, so it's vanilla game tomb. Walked into a tomb the other day that I've never seen before in 9 years. I'm like, how have I been playing this game for 9 years? It's not even out of the way. It's just like just off the road. Perfectly easy to find without, any magic or anything. It's just right there. How have I not seen this before? How is this the first time I'm seeing this tomb in 9 years? No idea. Weird. I'm very jealous of everybody that's getting to play it for the first time, because it is an experience, and it holds up brilliantly well, even 9 years later. Yes, enjoy your new world, but it will absorb you, suck you in. You'll have nothing but happiness. Now with this guy here, standing figure, you can of course see his sides. So I'm going to do a bit of this old squish and squeeze to see if I can maybe fill in some of the little gap down the side where his belt and straps are. It might not be that I can do any of it, because it's all very small and fiddly, and it might be covered by his arms anyway. But we'll see if I can sand away the little gaps. Such fine detail, I don't want to damage any of the strapping or webbing or anything there. Put that there to dry. I'll see. Can I still get him out of the... Yes, he's not glued in. Good. Making sure he hadn't somehow got glued into his cockpit. Yes, it is the real world, you Burke. The real word, ocularium. See, I knew it would have a Ponzi. I thought it would be Ponzi French, but it's Ponzi Latin, so there you go. Foxx, according to Google, the slot is called cervelière, which is French. There you go. So I told you it'd be a Ponzi French word. Oh, and then he says, no, correction, that is the metal skull cap, not the slit. I don't know which word in that sentence YouTube blocked, whether it was skull cap or slit, I don't know. Cervelière. Cerveillère, probably, actually. Cerveillère, which is the skull cap, top half of it. Yeah, Knight's Armour always has Ponzi French names, because that's where it all originated. But being 40k, of course, they go with the Latin names, not the Ponzi French names. They wouldn't do Ponzi French. French would be considered an ancient language, and they wouldn't even know it. Yes, Mayhem is correct. The ocularium. Well, I don't know. I prefer the French words to the Latin words. I think French names for armour parts sound better. Cerveillère. Say that again. Cerveillère. Get it correct, Fox. You're going to do French, do it right. Don't do it badly, because everybody who's French is watching is now going, oh, just no. And you've just generated nothing but sadness with all those people. I know. What can I do? There's a tricksy little mould line right down the back of his leg, I've just noticed. And he's got these like straps for all his straps on his trousers and his legs. I'm going to have to go between them to get the mould line out. Challenging, but not impossible. Surveilleur. Bonjour la classe. Asseyez-vous et écoutez. Oh. Bit better. Actually, a bit better. It's a bit of a, yeah, it's just a little grumpy little mould line I hadn't noticed. I don't know why I said grumpy, it just seemed like the right word to describe a mould line, to be perfectly honest. Grumpy little mould line. Yeah. But that's the thing, and you see a lot of people when they do a model and they have, say, ribbed or ridged or detail like that, where you've got a ridge and a recess and a ridge and a recess. And what they'll do is they'll sand away the mould line from the raised areas, but not give any thought to the mould line as it continues into the recess. And that's where they fall foul sometimes. You see this, you see a model and it's painted up and it's a beautiful photograph. And there, right in the recess, when the light hits it in the right way, is a honking great mould line that they've not cleaned out. So do get yourself a scribing tool. Absolutely get yourself a scribing tool. You trust me. Even if you never ever have to scribe panel lines, which I don't ever have to do, it's one of my most used tools. I don't do scribe. I don't do panel lines. Never had to. I got it. Why did I get it? I can't remember. I think I may have at one point. I was considering doing something on a Gunpla that might have needed a panel line scribing, and then I never did it. And all I use it for now is cleaning up like mold lines, plasma coils and things. Now there is a mold line on the front of his leg, but that's a bit different because he's got this piece of like raised strip on his armour that goes right down the middle of his foot and up the centre of his leg. So that is actually part of the detail. It's not a mould line. Or there is a mould line there, but it's hidden by the fact it's a raised detail anyway. So we've still got little bits of mould lines on the trim to deal with. Thanks, G-dubs. Luckily, again, they're so fine. I can just very gently scrape it away and not leave any mess behind. Lovely. I normally really hate doing this kind of cleanup with a knife blade because it's scratchy and puts some scratches in the surface. Your scraping tool doesn't do that. Oops. How well did I do on that one? All right. That one's all right. Big flake of plastic in there. Hold line on his pantaloons, which I must clean up. Pantaloons, you say? Yeah, very good. Very good, yes. I think that is that leg cleaned up quite nicely. Yeah, that's as good as that's going to get. Bit now. What's chat doing? Don't mention the Battle of Agincourt. Lol, says Dad. Says Wendy Hickson. Hey, Wendy. That's because the Poncy French hated being killed by manly British longbowmen. Yeah, pretty much. Right, so this is... I'm not sure what this box is. His cat. I think it's like a power thing for his suit. I'm not really sure. He does have a specific weapon. He has. What does it say in the instructions? He has a Archaeotech pistol. Archaeotech pistol, which means it's an ancient pistol of some sort. I do like. But yes, if the knight is damaged but not destroyed, you can pop him out. Let's see what it says. It says in words. It says abilities. Ion Shield. Canis Rex has a 5+ invulnerable save against ranged weapons. Explodes. If Canis Rex is reduced to 0 wounds, roll a d6 before removing it from the battlefield. On a 6, it explodes, and each unit within 2d6 inches suffers d6 mortal wounds. But if Sir Hector, if Canis Rex, this is one of its abilities, if Canis Rex is reduced to 0 wounds but does not explode, set up Sir Hector within 3 inches of it before Canis Rex is removed. He is treated as a passenger disembarking from a destroyed transport. Assuming he survives, Sir Hector then uses his own profile above and his own keywords below and is armed with an Archaeotech pistol. This unit is not considered to have been destroyed until Sir Hector is slain. And his keywords are character, infantry, and Sir Hector. But that's the one difference between this and the other Imperial Knight kit. You don't get a pilot figure, so you don't have that option with any other Imperial Knight. Now, if you're making a free blade out of this, you're making like your own made-up livery or whatever, you could still have the dude walking around, and you could still have the pilot in the cockpit, and you could just, when you're playing your game, assuming it's not a tournament match, if it's just a friendly match, you could just say, this is my free blade, Sir Fabulon of Fantasticals, and he's got a load of fluff that nobody cares about, and his favourite colour is pink, and he likes unicorns, but he plays as Sir Hector and Canis Rex. Because I think, if I remember rightly, there's free blade rules, which are generic rules for free blades, where they're not assigned to it, they're not associated with an actual house. Or you could just say it plays like Canis Rex, and you just play using the rules, and that way you could have your little dude walking around who wouldn't actually be Sir Hector, but he would just use Sir Hector rules. That's my understanding of it, I think, which is still kind of cool. And then it makes me wonder, why would you just ever make an Imperial Knight now that didn't have the figure? Why would anybody want to buy the Night Warden kit when you can get this one, which is more awesome? Now, here's a handy tip. I don't know if you'll see this. On the bottom of this case, there's like this strap that goes around the middle, and it's raised detail. You'll see there's like a raised detail. You can see the dark bit. Where I've sanded it here, it's a little soft. The little recess is soft. It's like that lip, but it's gone a bit soft, and I want to get it unsofted. This is where you can also use your scribing tool. Very carefully, just run it along the edge of that raised detail. Your scribing tool. Don't put any weight on it, just build it up slowly using the weight of the tool by itself. And what you're doing, this is a handy tip, you're not actually making, basically you've got a thing where you've had two edges like that. And then one of these has got softened back, so it's no longer a nice square 90 degrees, it's gone a bit soft. All you're doing is you're artificially putting a recess along one side, so the light catches it. It makes it look more like a 90-degree corner again. It doesn't really fix it. You've still got a soft edge on the top piece, but it just tricks the eye into thinking there's a nice, crisp 90-degree corner there, and it hides a lot of ills. So if you ever do sand over some like ridge detail or that kind of thing, and it looks a bit soft, go back and scribe it. This and this are two of my most essential tools. I mean, you've got knives and stuff, but these two, Citadel mold line removal tool and the Tamiya scriber, other tools are available. My two most used, essential, valuable tools. Right, so we're up to, time are we on? 10 I've got 10 minutes. We might get Sir Hector built in the next 10 minutes. Anything can happen in the next 10 minutes. All I can smell is my dinner. I know I can't eat it for at least another couple of hours. God damn. I may just have to play some Skyrim to distract myself from food thoughts. Oops. There we go, get that one there. Might be able to get him assemblated just at the very last minute, just in the closing bell. I think that's his case all done and nice. Lovely, lovely. Right, so I need his base as well, don't I? Yes. Now, some people like to glue figures onto temporary bases so they can then go away and do a nice little diorama on the base and then mount him onto another base at the end. I don't do that because I do very simple texturing on bases. I like to draw my attention to the figure and not the base, so I tend to use like a crackle paint, like a Grell and Badlands or something, and just slap that over without getting it on the figure. So I'm not too fussed about gluing him on the base right now. Let's see if we can get this done. I'm looking forward to this. Because it looks like a mint. It's like in a walking pose as well, which is like purposeful stride type pose. Get the legs on first. Again, fat glue, starting with fat glue. You know how it works. Start with fat. And he's got this tube down the side as well, which helps you make sure you've lined it up straight. Glue that in place. Touch. A little bit of the thin. Touch. Just a tiny amount. Touch. And then we'll get the other leg on. I'll have to leave it a minute so they can actually glue into place and not come off the moment I try and push him down onto the base. Base. How low can you go? Real purposeful manly stride, that. Now this one is a bit more tricksy because it goes on, but it's not quite a snugulatory a fit. Tube in the right place. So you can't always assume anything. Everything's going to fit perfectly. It was not quite as perfectly lined up. A little bit of finagling to do on this one. There we go. It's important to get that tube lined up because it goes into like a little valve and a vent thing on his side, and it lines up like it's a nozzle. So it's important to have that lined up. So I'll have to leave that for a minute. Can we get the arms? I could try and get the arms on, but I don't want to squish anything just yet. How does he go on? Kind of goes on. He's heeling and towing it. So he's got his heel is lined up and his toe, so he's like that. And these are quite tricky to mount sometimes because we don't have a lot of contact surface for the glue. We shall do our best. Give that a minute. I will. Can I get him on now? Can I just? Yeah, let's get him down now. There'll be a little bit of play in his legs, but we can wing it. Touch of fat glue. Tiniest touch on his heel just to get him down. Get him on. Give him a little bit of a wiggle to smush the glue around. Make sure he's level and flat. It's always quite tricky when they've got when they're doing a toe and heel like that, because you've only got really the area where the toe hits the ground as the contact point. I'll give them a second. When you put them down on the base though, don't just go plonk. Get them down and just wiggle them back and forth a little bit. That just smushes, because the bases always have this like texture to them, rough texture. It just gives it a chance to get the glue going into the texture. Now, if that was extra thin, that wouldn't be stuck on there. Again, using the thick glue because it's viscous. I'm going to run the extra thin around under that one. Doesn't matter if you get big splobs of glue because this is going to be covered with texture paint anyway. You can be quite generous. You just need to make sure he's in and he's down. I've only got a small area, so you want the glue to really suck underneath. I've got a bit too much on there. I'll get my brush. I'll get all the glue off the brush and I'll just run it under his foot because there's a big bubble of glue under his foot. Done. Now it will be covered, like I said, in texture anyway, so it's not really the end of the world. You can just see like a little, that's better. We'll give him a second. Looks mint. That is looking mint. Now I'm quite happy to fully assemble him now because there's nothing on here I can't get to, I don't think. once he's assembled. Like that arm can go on there and get to all of that. Not a problem. Little bits that I can't quite get to. Like there are little side details on his helmet there, little valves. You can't actually see them. They're hidden behind the piping. So, although they'll get covered with the base colours and so on, they're not going to get all the massive attention to detail, but that's fine because you can't see that anyway. So let's get that glued on. What are we on? 54. Get this done. We can call it a day then. So it is a handy tip when you're making miniatures like this. Like I said before, there are diminishing returns. There are some situations where it's okay to not get every single detail painted in. Even on a character like this, like Sir Hector, even on a character, I could keep his arm off and stick it on later, and therefore do a complete full paint job on the helmet. That's entirely an option. But the risk you have then is that you're gluing something together that's been painted. As you can see, I like to run glue under the armpit to get it to glue in. You're risking then getting glue on there and then sploshing it around, and you make a mess of this beautiful, and then you've got to strip the whole thing and paint again anyway. So you should always have one eye on the feasibility of painting something and whether it needs to be assembled now or painted later. Now I've got all this detail on this box he's carrying. If I glue this arm on, can I get to all that? I think the answer is yes. It's just generic detail. I can get to it all. We'll do the same again. So just have an eye. Stringy stuff on my glue pot. Have an eye for what you can get to and paint. And if you can't get to it and to paint it, does it need to actually have the full paint attention? Now keep in mind, like I said, that little bit where you can't quite see the side of his helmet, I'm not going to leave it completely unpainted. Because, of course, when this model gets primed, it'll get hit with the primer coat. And then when it gets a wash over it at any point, it will still get the wash. And to the untrained eye, without looking very, very closely, it will still look three-dimensional and fully painted. That's the other thing to keep in mind. Sometimes, especially if you're building, say you've got a figure with a weapon across the chest. Let's say you build, he's wobbling on his base there, I've got to be careful with that. Let's say you're building a Space Marine who's got the Aquila on their chest, the big eagle on their chest, but he's also got his bolt rifle across his chest. In most cases, you can still get to most of the Aquila to paint it. If you assemble him with the actual arms and gun in place, you can still get to most of the Aquila on his chest to paint it. So if there's one little bit you can't quite get to, as long as you can roughly get it coloured in the gold or whatever colour, and then get a wash on it so it's got some three-dimensionality to it, because it's very hard to see anyway, it's not the end of the world because it just looks like you've painted it the same as everything else. But don't lose too much sleep. If you have to manoeuvre the figure around to see a detail, then unless you're doing it as a commission or for a competition, if you're just doing it for tabletop or just to sit in your cabinet as a shelf queen, nobody's ever going to see it. You'll be fine, don't worry. There's diminishing returns. I think that's where we've done that one. Has chat died, or is it just I've lost track of the chat? Oh no, chat just stopped. Right, so with 3 minutes to go, not done too badly today. Not done bad at all today. Look at that. So there we go. There is Sir Hector. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can have a chance to see him in crappy zoomed in air vision. Yeah, for some reason my camera doesn't zoom in much sometimes. So there is Sir Hector, walking along purposefully, walking to work or from work. He's like, oh, I've only just got up and I've not had a big coffee yet. Oh. So he'll be gluing nicely to his base. You can see all the detail there, beautiful hoses and pipes. And of course I can fully paint him because you can see everything. All his bits are on display. I can't wait to paint that. I'm hoping I can film that painting it. I can't guarantee that. The detail is so fine and crispy. I'll be able to paint it, but whether I can actually film painting it, I do not know. I have to get quite close because of my old man eyes, so we shall see. His armour is actually fairly simple colour scheme. It's silver and gold with a blue-black undersuit. So we've got Sir Hector built, and I've also assembled, for the most part, the Throne Mechanicum with Sir Hector in there. He's like a quantum Princeps. He's either in the cockpit or he's walking around, but he's both. His waveform hasn't collected. He's still a collection of probabilities. He can be both walking and piloting at the same time. There's a quantum physics joke for you. Never mind. Moving on. So he's in there. He's not glued in. We can take him out. No problem. He's in there, ready to roll. So he can be painted. We've got all the side panels and stuff to do still. And that's that. So there we go. No, I can't wait to paint those. I can't wait to paint them at all. We've got one of the exhausts temporarily glued on. Remember, that's easily removable later on. I'd snap it off now, but I can't be bothered gluing it back on again. So that's on there. That can be painted, and then when it comes to assembly, we can pop that off, put the carapace down, and done. We've got one exhaust that needs sanding next week because we put the sprue glue on it. And that's a good place to finish. Yes. Cool. All I can smell is my dinner. So there we go. We've done a good bit of work today. I'm quite proud of that. Nice bit of work there. So that's going to do me for today. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, of course, this is a show for eModels.co.uk, your one-stop shop for all your model making needs. Games Workshop stuff is now available at eModels. It has been for about a year. They are waiting on a restock from Games Workshop, but they've got a load of paints and other kits in right now. This kit is sadly out of stock at the moment, but they'll get more back again. Don't worry. As soon as it comes back in stock, they'll let you know. Do keep an eye on their Facebook page, eModels Ltd on the YouTubes, or in fact on Facebook even, which is where Facebook is, you moron. eModels Ltd on Facebook. Do subscribe to their page, and then when stuff does come back in stock like this, then you'll know straight away because they'll put a thing up saying it's back in stock. So do check it out. I will let you know when we're going to be doing the filming of the painting of this at some point in the future. Until then, though, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, I will be back on my own channel tomorrow, Saturday, for Skyrim Saturday at 3 PM, where you can join me while I play Skyrim for 3 hours. And I'll be back on Sunday on my own channel for Warhammer Sunday. So do check it out. And don't forget, of course, we announced on the Monday show, we have a new video build series coming along. We announced on Monday that Carl from Making Models is our newest guest builder. He'll be working on a rather nice little kit, an ICM ambulance kit. So that's underway at the moment. So do stay tuned for that. And some other announcements to come as well. So stay tuned on the Monday show. Don't forget, of course, I will be back tonight, midnight. I almost forgot. I'll be back at midnight tonight on Festa67's workshop channel for the midnight stream. He's building a Baneblade, and I'm building whatever I've got in my stash at the time. So do come and join me and Colin, our good friend Colin, at midnight on Festa67's workshop. Thank you for Panzer for reminding me of that. I always forget. But yes, Fox, we've done well today. I've not dropped anything on the shout of. I'll start that again. Coffee time. Hang on. Panzer says, yes, we've done well today. I've not dropped anything on the snout of the carpet monster. Yeah, boop the snoot of the carpet monster, but not with the bit of plastic, because it'll never come back. Anyway, that's going to do it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll just test my buttons.
Slap it on.
Yeah, buttons are working fine. Thank you very, very much for watching. Do take care of yourselves. Go make something awesome. Go be awesome. Go and spend lots of money at eModels.co.uk, your one-stop shop for your model making needs. And I will see some of you at midnight tonight on Colin's channel, Festa67 Workshop. So until then, take care, stay safe, wear a mask. Adios, amoebas. And now the buttons don't work. You know, I just tested my buttons. Literally. Oh. I just tested the buttons and they work and fell over, literally, as the moment I was testing them. I'll do it manually. Adios, amoebas.